Good morning, good morning, good morning, everybody. It is Sunday. Hope everyone had a fantastic Mother's Day. That was the only reason for not doing the live stream last week, is because I like my kid's mother more than I like YouTube. So super excited to have you here. Get everything in line on the channel. Ready to go. Lots to cover today. There were a lot of really great questions over the course of the week, and some stupid comments that we'll make sure to cover a lot of those. One of the main things that I want to look at today and talk about today is, as a landlord, you're going to see plenty of opposition. You're instantly a jerk. You're instantly unreasonable. And I think largely it's because people that haven't been a landlord before don't understand what it's like to be a landlord. So they don't understand what really goes into it. They have no idea that, that $1,400 in rent that they're paying doesn't all go to us. Right? It's not, it might be sent to us as a check, but that's when we basically then start dispersing those funds. So one of the things I wanted to cover today was for folks that are either new landlords, are considering being landlords, or are even tenants. I wanted to make sure that everyone had the opportunity and the chance to kind of really understand what it comes down to. It really, truly is a business, and businesses without funding can't function, or without cash flow can't function. And so I really just wanted to kind of spend just a few minutes on that piece real quick, is just really talking about, and again, you can send this to folks that are tenants. You can send this to other folks that are new landlords or becoming or want to become a landlord. Most often what you hear is the margin of 6, 7, 8%. Think about that. On a typical rental of $2,000, your rate of return is 6%. Do the math. Oh, where's Little Lumberjack? Oh, here it is. I want to make sure he doesn't miss out on today's action. But that's what people miss on. And so you might have $2,000 coming in, but 6% of that, it's not that much money. It really isn't. 6%. Think about that. That's $120. That's 6% on 2,000. 120 bucks. So if you think about that, sorry, person in the field. If you think about that, and really what that equates to is it's 120 bucks. So if they have to replace the water heater that year, they made $0. That's the thin line of margin. So I think a lot of tenants really just don't understand that concept. And because of that, there's this disdain for landlords, like, oh, they're raising my rent 300 bucks. Yeah, because if they don't, if you're a larger landlord, guess what they're going to do? They're going to call the loan because it's going to be considered a non-performing loan because you don't have what's called proper debt coverage. Proper debt coverage is the bank says you need to make on your entire portfolio, when you go on the commercial side, you need to make 20% before expenses, 20%. That means, and so when you work on all of those numbers, that's really hard. And the bank can literally, in a bad time, they can call that note and say, we want to be paid off. So if you think housing would be bad, if you think housing's bad now, wait until you start to see landlords losing properties because they don't have proper debt coverage. Landlords are essentially stewards, right? They look for the deals, they find the deals, they do the deals, they buy the deals, they do all the work for the deals. But again, they're largely not doing it with all their money. They're doing it with bank money. Then they're literally depending on the tenant to pay their rent on time and to pay their rent in full in order to cover the expenses. Because for some reason, that tenant doesn't want the risk of owning a house, can't afford a house, hasn't been disciplined enough to create the $10,000 or $15,000 or $20,000 it takes to create the down payment. So really what it is truly landlords, many landlords, I think most, understand that they're providing a service. There are scumlords. It's true. There are slumlords, scumlords. There's all those things. There's also professional tenants. So I can tell you that I've seen just as many professional tenants as I have professional slumlords, seen just as many of both. In my eyes, they largely cancel each other out. And quite frankly, they deserve each other. Because at the end of the day, the system really works because a majority of tenants are great tenants and a majority of landlords are great landlords. They do their very best to take care of things, and they do their very best to make sure that on safety and emergency items, they're taken care of immediately. And even on non-emergency items, they do their best to take care of them in a timely manner. That's been my experience 22 years in the business. So for those people who are out there, and I saw a lot of posts this week on some of the videos that I did, people talking about the fact that landlords are scumbags and that they're all in it to get rich and that they can afford more. The typical mom and pop landlord is probably who owns your property. Even if it's a bigger company, guess what? It has to make a certain amount of margin. It has to make a certain amount of money to make it worth doing because it's risk-based. So if you don't understand any of those comments, feel free to ask questions. I'm more than happy to answer any questions that you guys have. We're going to have a lot of fun today. And sorry, people in the field will always get a response from me. For those of you who don't know, I am the lumberjack landlord. I own a little over 100 units. I'm a 9th grade dropout. I started with absolutely nothing. When I was 18 years old, I was making $5.25 an hour working in a video store in a small town in New Hampshire. And that is my story. So, now we're 26 years later and that video store is no longer in business. Thank you, Netflix. But anyway, so we're here to answer your questions, answer any questions that you do have. I'll answer tenant questions. I'll answer landlord questions, repair questions. We can talk about the applications this week that we got. We got over 200 inquiries on 3 properties in 72 hours. So we'll take care of all that stuff, but super excited to jump in. So let's do that. Let's jump in and have some fun. Janet Santiago, good morning. How are you? How's the family doing? Can you tell us your thoughts about housing insanity, the interest rate, mortgage prices, etc.? So family is great, Janet. Thank you so much for asking. Eliana starts radiation a week from tomorrow, but we finally finished chemo. And so we're going to do an update this week talking about that. But yeah, we're doing great. The housing insanity really is just that. It depends on what market that you're in, but for our market, anything that's reasonably priced is still going within a couple of days. Rates have not deterred people at all. We've seen the number of people come out of the market, but still far too many in the market, even with higher prices and higher rates, that still can put a deal together. So demand still far outweighs supply. So I think that will continue. I think rates will continue to rise. I think they'll fluctuate. I think I don't see how we have a soft landing. I think there is going to be a recession. I've been on Mark as saying, I think it happens, kind of Q1, Q2 of next year. I think we'll be in full blown recession. But anything's on the table. I'm not a trained economist. It's just based on my experience for 22 years. I think anybody that tells you that they know exactly what's happening is probably wrong. But because there's so many factors, there's 47 charts that you can run that give you different elements of the picture. So there's just a lot of moving parts there. So thank you guys for joining me on Sunday. This is today, Sunday. Sorry. But thanks for joining me today and coming to hang out. Matt Bittner, thumbs up. Thank you, sir. Did you ever listen to Lumberjack? I didn't listen to that. I'm sorry. Where's my pen? I think my kids got in my office again. They did. Lumberjack by Jackal. I will listen to it. I promise. This week, guaranteed. Jag C. Good morning. Good morning, Jag. Happy to have you here. I'm not sure you've been here before, so cool to have you. Chester Williams. Good morning. Ninja Vanish 24/7. I like the name. That's great. Good morning. It's raining here, but beautiful. Julie Anderson. Excellent. It is not raining here yet. We had our hottest day of the year yesterday. It was 90, which is not something we see ever in May. But we also don't usually see freezing temperatures in May. We've had those too. The rule in New Hampshire is if you don't like the weather, give it 5 minutes. It'll change. And so we had 90 degrees. In the last week, we've had 90 and we've had 33 in a week. Yeah, crazy. Not the desert. Don Etherton. Hey, Don, good morning. Good morning, Matt and everyone. Thanks for joining, Don. Don and I'm the worst. I am so unbelievably busy right now, but I want to have Don on with you guys because he is going to share just a ton of knowledge with you. Getting over the hump, getting a duplex with an incredible rate of return. Thought outside the box a little bit. So I'm super psyched to talk to Don. Han Solo. Hi, Matt. Happy Sunday. I'm copying Dion. Driving through country on the road in Tennessee right now. We'll enjoy listening in. Very cool. Awesome. Yeah. Have a safe trip. I know there's some rainstorms coming, so I can only imagine what it's like driving through. heavy rainstorms. Laura Samaniego, good morning. Good morning, everyone. Roldan Crespo, good morning. Lumberjack, well done. Kavish Mehta, yes, I made it. Yes, good to have you. Good to have you. Excellent. Let's see here. I didn't fall too far behind. Well, that's a nice change. Robert Farinelli, hello, Matt. In my basement, through the brutal process of sanding and patching a 60-year-old solid core door. Yeah, before painting, all because I'm too broke to buy. I wish I could tell you that I haven't had to do that in the past, but sadly, I had to do that in the past. So I completely understand. Sam Farho, good morning. Leo Perez, good morning. Good morning. Matt Bidner, if you got that many applications, maybe you should ask a lot higher in the rent for the future. So Mike and I talked about that. I did an apology video because Mike actually said to me, he goes, you should have charged more rent. I sort of kind of agreed, but after looking at the numbers, I should have, only because, to give you an idea though, of those 200 inquiries, really only 30 were really good. So 15% were really good. That's a pretty bad number, I think. But at the end of the day, I only need one. So that was the mistake that I made. However, the two places rented out, or they were signed leases within 48 hours. One of them, we had someone say they wanted it, then they DQ'd. And then another one that we made a slight exception for, and they just ghost vapor. So we're actually doing another open house because we had kind of our top list for those. It was in a different town, kind of a different market, less expensive market. But yeah, we kind of had something flagged. We literally had somebody say, I'm not coming to look at it. I've submitted all my application. If you can't tell me that I have the unit, I'm not going to come look at it. My answer was, no problem. Good luck in your search. I'm not going to be bullied by a tenant. Ain't going to happen. Because if that's the way that they are in the enrollment process, guess what they're going to be like when they're tenants, and they think that they know better. Hard pass. So hasta lasagna. Don't get any on you. Bye-bye. Chester Williams, I'm still seeing FOMO in my market. Yep. As IRs rise to 5.5 and even 6. Yep. Still seeing subpar properties selling in under a week for tens of thousands over asking. Yep. I'm still seeing that in mine too. Yep. Chester Williams, because people who are losing out in the more expensive, exactly, nearby markets, rising tide lifting all boats. Yes. That are desperate to buy literally anything, and they'll sell as soon as they can get back into the move up markets. Totally agree with you. I totally agree with you. They're under the guise of something is better than nothing, and that's the way that we want to go. The issue is they better have enough money to cover it, because they might be minus, right? They might be negative based on rates being higher and them not being able to get the same price. Plus, your value of your property has to increase 8% just to cover your expenses to move into the next property. 8%. So you have to hope for an 8% increase just to break even. And in the next year, are we going to get an 8% increase in that area? Maybe, maybe not. Don't have a crystal ball. But that's something that a lot of people make the mistake of. Oh, well, I can just sell out of it and get into the next one. Yeah, 8%. Realtor fees, closing costs, transfer stamps, all the stuff that goes with that, you are looking at least 8% to get into the new one. And on the other side of it, whatever acquisition costs you have over there too. So it's not nearly that easy a cut and dry game, but I do understand what you mean. Ryan Allen, hello. What are some things that you include in your lease? Some things, too broad a question. Ask something. If you ask something more specific, I will definitely answer your question, because my lease is 8 pages. So I include 8 pages worth of things in my lease. Legacy Up. Good morning, bud. Good morning. Matt Bittner. The Lumberjack song could be your channel theme song or ringtone. I like my theme song. If you guys look on my channel, I actually have a theme song. Guy's an awesome artist too. When we first launched it, my kids played it probably nonstop for like a week. It was brutal. Karen Molnar, good morning. Happy to listen. Excellent. Great to have you, Karen. Marisha Ninehauser, hello from Arizona. Hello. Marisha, are you in Pace Morby's area? So like the Phoenix Scottsdale area? I like Pace. I think he's brilliant. I like Laura. I think she's awesome. I just think that watching their triple digit flip show just makes me go a little bit nutty. I got to be honest. It makes me a little bit mental watching that show. Ryan Allen, we say the same thing about weather here in Maine. Of course. Well, yeah, we're the same area. So New England's pretty much the same. Rob, winter is coming. Is your cupboard filled with Rice Krispies? I do have a spare supply. Ironically enough, we've made that list of the things that have run out in the past. And so it's like 4 or 5 things that we buy from a family perspective. And so we go through, let's say, a box of those every couple of weeks. So we'll actually buy once a month, we'll buy an extra one. So we have a little bit of a stockpile, nothing crazy, but a little bit of one for sure. Let's see. Karen Molnar, sorry, driving back to North Carolina from Florida. Very cool. Very cool. We'll have a safe trip. Dmitry Gurvich, hello, my friend. Listening while pulling up carpet, replacing it with American flooring. Very good. Yeah, hopefully you guys have enjoyed that hookup with American flooring. Like I said, good product. They don't sponsor the show or sponsor me or anything, but good product, good service. If it comes damaged, just report it that same day. Just take pictures, report it that same day, how many boxes were affected. I've had that happen on a couple shipments. But yeah, so far so good. That stuff is worn really well. We had one area where it didn't go so well, but that was an install issue. We kind of pulled it all apart and looked, and we're like, yeah, it was an install issue. They didn't properly support the subfloor, so there was too much flex there. So that's what we were seeing with, because we do it, we install it floating. So that's one of the things that I'll tell you there as an example. Matt Bittner, you might consider charging application fee to keep people from wasting your time. So I don't do that. I don't do that because I am more than happy to, there are people that are great tenants that can't afford, that shouldn't have to spend the money on an app fee. So for me, that's one of those things where I would much rather find the person that's really gung-ho, that, application fee does drastically drop the number of applications that you get. But what I've found is my numbers are far better than the guys that take application fees. Meaning there's a lot of people with plenty fine credit that don't want to spend the $50. They're going to look at all the places that don't have an app fee first. And so I get that good tenant before they do. So it's a good tip, but I win more. My evictions, I have 9 evictions in over 3,000 tenant years. There's no one in the business that has numbers like mine that I've ever seen. 9 evictions in 3,000 tenant years. Never seen anything even close to that. So because of that, I'll stick with my model. It is a smart idea. I get what you're saying, but I am likely to get that better tenant before you, because I'll spend the money on the realtor. Is going to get that whatever if I'm letting a realtor do it. If I'm doing it, all I ask as part of the application process is send me your Credit Karma score, send me your pay stubs, and send me the last 3 months that you paid your landlord, proof of that. When they send that stuff to me, guess what? That can instantly disqualify them. Literally, it could be less than a minute that I'm evaluating their app, So, yeah. So the 200 inquiries, it's fine. It took probably 5 hours to get through that. But I pay somebody 25, they have the criteria. I pay somebody $25 an hour to go through the criteria. It cost me $125. So for me, worth it. And in the 2 cases where I got the places rented, they had paid app prices before, not gotten the unit, and were getting a little bit fatigued. Like I said, they were like, we stopped applying to places that have app credits because there's still dozens and dozens of applicants. So that's the way that we do it. And we're going to keep on going that way because it's just worked so well. JC, could you talk about how you handle inspections for your properties and your thoughts on inspections lessons learned? Are your properties in one location or across the country? So JC, welcome to the program. Welcome to the program. I don't think that you've asked a question before, except for earlier when you introduced yourself. So I appreciate that. They're all in one area, 3 towns. I started off in 1 town, and now I'm in 3 towns. Technically 4, but the 4th one, I only have 1 place. It's a specific issue. So 3 towns. I don't hire out of the book inspectors. I'm not interested in the 5-day inspection course that they went to that then they think they're certified. I can walk a house and I can find far more things right or wrong about the house than they can after their 5-day course or their 10-day course. And then again, what they're trying to do is they're trying to displace liability. So every little thing is a major, major issue. I always look for inspectors that have construction backgrounds, at least 10 years in construction, because what are the most important things about that inspection? It is Is the chimney falling apart? Is the heating system in good shape? Is the oil tank, if that's there, is that in good shape? Is the foundation in good shape? And roof in good shape? I'm looking for big ticket items. I recognize for probably almost any house that I go by, I'm going to put 5 to 10,000 bucks. I actually add that onto the price. I know that I'm going to pay that. So, and it's like little things here and there that I want my certain way. So I really don't care what those inspectors say because they're not versed enough. I want somebody with construction background. And for me, I inspect a lot of my own properties just because of all my experience. So I don't particularly like 5 or 10-day inspection courses. I don't particularly think that those guys add a whole lot of value because they'll take a ton of pictures and they'll just do add and replace, add and replace, add and replace, add and replace. And what good does that do you? If you actually followed and did everything you wanted to in their report, it'd probably cost you 40,000 bucks. And then at the end of the day, every little thing with that house might then be done. But so, like, none of it stops you from getting the rents. What are the things that stops you from getting the rents, or the major issues that you might have with the building? I'm looking at a 30-year hold. So what I'll do often is my inspectors are a lot less money because they know what I'm looking for. I'm still going to get a report. And then the big things that they call out, I know what the big things are. So it's like little things that they might catch here or there. But the funny thing is it's like, I'd rather have my plumber come and take a look at the heating system than have an inspector take a look at it. Inspectors don't know what they're really looking for. You know, the plumbing and heating guys can look at it and they can find a micro crack in the back, or like in the, whatchamacallit, chamber, you know? So yeah, from my perspective, I'm not a huge fan. Lessons learned. So my biggest lesson learned was I had an inspector blow up a deal. My bank didn't want to do the deal because he said the building was in such bad shape. Now, I knew it was in the shape that it was in, but it wasn't. He was like talking about like it collapsing and that the thing should be demolished. He's an idiot, clearly not a real estate investor, clearly completely out of his depth. You know why? Because I didn't demolish it. I did redo it. I did redo it for less than what I said I was going to redo it. And then I sold it for a $75,000 profit in under 6 months. So who's the smart one? Who's the idiot? This guy who told me the place should be knocked down, the bank who believed him, I had to find a different bank. That's what actually got me an inspector. So my lesson learned was have actual qualified individuals, not people that just took a 5 or 10-day course and they've never spent a day in construction. Those guys largely are pretty useless to me. So not the nicest thing I've ever said about anybody, but the way it goes. I mean, that's just a fact. So that's the biggest lesson I've learned. You still want to do inspections. I also think that you go above the one area you go above and beyond in is I always scope the sewer line. I always scope the sewer line. It's just not worth it not to. So I always scope the sewer line because that can be a $8,000 to $10,000 project, and I can have it scoped for 200 bucks. And I rather know what it looks like. You know, if I see that it's got a bunch of trees do something called skirting. They'll actually put their micro roots. It'll get into the pipe or sometimes the seams, and it would create this skirting. And that's usually what creates your clog. The cool thing is that skirting can be taken out by one auger job. And then you're usually good for years and years and years and years, but roots will always seek water. So that skirting job, you can actually put yourself in pretty good shape. Hold on one second. It's saying I have a text message. That was not a contractor. I'll read it later. But it is a funny story. Let's see here. Sorry, I lost my place. So yeah, so JC, that's a great question. But those are my lessons learned is I do the sewer pipes. It's an extra couple $100, and I always have an inspector that has a construction background. So that's what I would do. Robert Farinelli, where do you buy your ceiling fans? Going to replace one in the kitchen so I can put it on a 3-way dimmer and fan control. So Robert, I buy them a lot of times. You can find lots of them on eBay. And so I standardize on a fan, and then I look it up and I try and buy 5 to 10 at a time. So I'll buy them on eBay. I've done it sometimes when there's like the end cap deal at like Lowe's or Home Depot in the big box stores. But largely I'll buy lots of them because there's specific ones that I like. and I buy the flush mounts. I don't buy the ones that really hang down, so I buy the flush mounts. So, anywho, yeah, that's usually what I'll do. Sam Farho, do you rent to tenants with cats, and is there a way to minimize their damage through lease or deposit or anything else? So yes, I do. I ask that the cat has been fixed, and so I know that it's not going to spray. And usually it's not kittens, it's cats. And yes, we'll do like a pet fee of $50 a month for pretty much any unit, regardless of the cost. Regardless of the cost of the unit, because $50, $600 at the end of the year, that's worth it. And I like what Deanne says, where they usually stay. That's true. Generally speaking, they usually stay. So that's what I usually do for cats, Sam. And as far as deposit, I only charge the $50 pet fee. Usually the rent or the regular deposit is enough to cover any damage that they would do. That's usually how I do it. Ryan Allen, I got mine from a local, let's see, would you share your lease? No, because it's New Hampshire specific. Ryan Allen, I got mine from a local lawyer and have added a few things to it. So Ryan, that's a good idea. But typically there's a lot of landlords that don't know what you can and can't add. Sometimes they contradict other terms in the lease. So it's always good, if you want to add something, to pay the attorney to add it, because they will add it in a way that ensures it's enforceable, and that it's not contradictory to something else, and that it's written in a way that is not seen as, by a judge that would look at it as punitive or not properly structured. Don't wait until you have the problem in court. Do it up front. If there's stuff that you really want to make sure that's a part of it, just add it to it. Make sure it's a part of it. That's the best way to do it. But then I have it run by my attorney. The beautiful thing about my lease is it comes from an attorney. And so I always tease him. I say, if you ever lose a case for me, I will be so unbelievably mad, because it's your lease. And so if I followed your lease to a T and they broke your lease, you better be able to get them. And so he always laughs. He goes, my lease is good. My lease is good. But he updates it every once in a while. So Robert Farinelli. Oh, speaking of those 300 apps, seeing the same thing in Manchester. Yep, rents are up big time in last September. And I see more applications. Big one is 4 beds under 2,000 are now non-existent. Yeah, that's exactly right. Yep. I mean, I raised my rents significantly. Up 20, we went from 2,400 to 3,000, 2,400 to 2,950, and from 2,000 to 2,450. Those are the 3 rent increases on those units. So, yep, hopefully that's helpful. Robert Fairley, nice that Zillow tells you how many people apply. I don't run mine through Zillow. I just count them. So we ran through Facebook Marketplace and Craigslist. We just count the number of people that made inquiry. Matt Bittner, do you think the rate hikes and higher inflation will make it easier to buy houses from people in low income areas? No, because I don't think that they can afford to leave. I don't think they'll be able to afford to leave. That's that step up buyer that Mike and I talk about a lot. If you're a low income area or that, that type of a house, what's your other option? You're locked in. You can't really afford to leave. It's not going to get less expensive than a C or a D class, or D will be less expensive than C, but you get my meaning. So I don't think so. I think it's going to be easier to buy from that step up than it is the next step down. But again, in New Hampshire, I'm not doing single family rentals. The numbers haven't made sense in a long time, 6-7 years. They haven't made sense. Hold on 1 second. So anyway, so for me, I don't do single families in New Hampshire. I don't think the low class is going to help you. That's where you can go broke, is because a lot of times that far to the low end is really hard to get a good, consistent tenant at a decent enough number, and one that can support rent increases over time. Because rent increases are usually a percentage. So that D area, I completely stay away from. It's the C area stuff, the Bs and the Cs. I like to buy in A areas with you know, B and C quality in those A areas. But I don't think I really have any real C areas. B's for sure. I think most of my stuff, pretty much all my stuff is B. Except for, actually, that's not true. One area is absolutely a C area for sure. One area is absolutely a C area. And that's, those are Section 8. Those are Section 8 units. Tamika L. Hey, Tamika, good morning. Good morning, friend. What are your thoughts on sub 2? Is it truly viable strategy if structured properly? Yes, yes, and yes. So I believe that Ryan Nickel is good at sub 2. He's who's part of Mike Zuber's course. I believe that Pace Morby is the best ever at sub 2. I think he charges $10,000 for his weekend course. He charges a fortune for his course. Sorry. So yeah, sub 2, awesome strategy. I believe the best strategy, not right this second, but probably in the next year to 3 or 4 years, I think sub 2 is going to be the best strategy. And I think the best asset is going to be 2s, 3s, and 4 unit small multifamily. That's my belief. So yes, Tamika, I think it's an awesome strategy. Right now, do you do annual inspections on your tenants' units or more frequently? I don't go out to do inspections, but when there is an issue in the unit, I do have a guy who does maintenance for us, just kind of take a peek. Yep, just kind of take a peek. Just like bathrooms, basement heating system, under the sink, just like the normal stuff, just to make sure there's no leak that they're missing or that they haven't reported or that sort of stuff. But yeah, that's basically it. Sam Farhow, here's what I'm dealing with now. Can I ask a whole year rent up front if a potential tenant is moving from another state and check all my other boxes except that they're not working yet? Yeah, you can ask for that. I don't know what your state law is, but you can take a whole year's rent up front as far as I know. Yeah, I would just check with what the law is, but they have the money, sold a house in California. What if they only agreed to pay 6 months up front? What is your best approach for that situation? I've taken a 6-month rent check. The tenant said, we want to pay 6 months up front. I said, sure, no problem. And they were moving to the area. They had jobs, but they were like lower tech jobs, or not tech at all, but lower end jobs, I guess, that weren't in their professions while they shopped in their professions. But even outside of being in their profession, those jobs still qualified them. So that's what I did. Hopefully that helps. Tim Crawford. Good morning, Tim. Appreciate you. JC, thank you about the inspection answer. You're very welcome. How would you advise a new out-of-state investor to go out finding a great inspector? So the only thing that I can think of is meetups in the area or area landlord stuff that's going on. I want to work off referral. So I want to work off referral, number one. Number two is you can also, as you're working through agents, ask what inspectors they're aware of, even ask their office what inspectors they're aware of, and then come up with a list of questions and interview them yourself. I always ask the construction question. How long have you been an inspector? Things like that. What's your expertise? I ask those questions because I want that well-rounded guy, because it's funny. There's one guy around here that has expertise in something, and coincidentally, every single unit that he looks at has this problem. It's like, well, dude, if every property has that problem, then it's really not a problem. It's one of those things. So it's like lined chimneys, right? Lining a chimney costs anywhere from $1,500 to $1,800. Sometimes you can get it done for 12. But he always says, yeah, it's an unlined chimney. Okay. Is there a heat system running into it? No, they're both direct vent out the wall. Then who cares? It's not even being used anymore. Who cares? I'm going to line it for what? Nothing is actually being put through it. That one's a contractor. So yeah, so hopefully that answers your question, JC, but yeah, that's what I would do. Would you walk away from a deal if the seller refuses to fix the sewer line or just does a temporary flush of it? So it depends on how bad it is. The thing is, you just have to know. So up here in the Northeast, there's something called Burma coat. I kid you not. It is paper wrapped in, or basically tarred over. It's basically tar paper. That's what they used for like 2 decades to make the connection between houses and the stub out from the city. Stuff is garbage. It's garbage. As you can imagine, 50 years, 60 years later, that stuff is not holding up very well. It's not holding up like some of the cast iron or some of the, redone PVC. It's not holding up well. So a lot of times you have to dig out. Now, if you're looking at that excavation, you can call like a Roto-Rooter or one of those companies. Their numbers are ridiculous. They're like 10, 12, 15,000 bucks to do that line. If you contract it out, I can hire a excavator with an operator for usually 150 an hour. And so that's 8 times 150, even if it's a full day. So it's 8 times 150. So it's 1,200 bucks. And then I can hire a plumber, right, who's probably another 125 or so. And then I'll have my, one of my laborers go, again, not an employee, a contractor. I'll have one of my laborers go to make sure that the line's clean. And then the plumber will actually put the line in after the excavator has gotten the old line out and dug it all out. We can go in there, we can saw the 2 ends and then put the connection in between, then have it inspected and then have it filled. All of that work to do it myself. If it's in a yard, that's maybe a $3,000 to $4,000 project. If I have to do anything in the street, it doubles the price, probably 8, maybe 9, but I'm still not 15 or 12. Like I'm nowhere near what these other companies rip people off and doing. The problem is that if you're an older homeowner and you don't have this experience, you want to pick up the phone and have somebody do everything for you. You're going to pay a huge premium, almost double, for what it's worth. Give me a thumbs up if that was valuable information. I think that was killer. Yeah, I definitely just saved somebody 8,000 bucks right there. Yeah, definitely. So to answer your question, would I walk away from a deal? No. If they don't fix it, then I would want at least some sort of a credit, because their answer is, well, it's still functioning now. Hey, thank you for the like, whoever I just saved 8,000 bucks. So yeah, it depends on the rest of the deal. I would make it part of my number, then rerun the numbers and see if it still works. Sam Farho, hit the like button. Thanks, Sam. Appreciate you. Indy Zimmer. Hey, Indy, you're new to the program. Well, at least to asking a question. Happy Sunday to you. Super excited to have you here and answer whatever question you have. Dion Talk Financial Freedom. Good morning, people. Good morning, Dion. Dion, my buddy. Mauritia Ninehauser. I'm in Scottsdale. Okay. Yep. In Tucson. Okay. Very good. Yep. I have heard of Pace Morby. I have heard Pace Morby speak. Yeah. He is awesome. Super, super, super skilled. Drew A. Join a mentorship to learn sub 2 and seller finance. Looking to find deals in the unconventional method. Brilliant, Drew. Great idea. Drew A. 7,800 for Pace Morby course. Okay. So I have no problem with an $8,000 course, especially if it's teaching me a $100,000 skill, right? That's where I think One Rental at a Time, Mike Zuber, that's why I think his course for 320 bucks is the best value on the internet, because he'll help you find them the way others are trying to help you find them. I like that Pace Morby has a course like that. 7,800, that's obviously expensive. The only question I would have you is usually that will pay for itself in 1 or 2 deals. So my question for you, Drew, is if you had it to do all over again, based on what you've learned, would you pay that 7,800 bucks again? I'll go back to questions because I do want to know that answer. Dion Talk Financial Freedom. Maybe you react to my text. Hold on one second. I do actually kind of want to read that text. Dion, my answer is water has found its level, period. I say that so what I mean by that is people have certain aptitudes and they can work on their skills to raise their level of aptitude. At the end of the day, it does take something special in a lot of these cases to become good, great, or elite. Some people cap out at average, some people cap out at good, some people cap at great, or some people cap at elite. And some become super elite. Like Morby is super elite. Any way you slice it, Morby's super elite. That said, just because you take Pace's course doesn't mean you're going to become super elite. He has all of the things, all of them. 20 years experience, thousands of deals, all the relationships, all the connections, knows how to run a business. He has all of these things. That makes him super elite. Just because you take a course, just because you read a book, just because you think you're smart, just because you have a good record in some cases, doesn't mean that you can be that. So that's why I always say water finds its level. I have found my level in running. It's below average. I'm huge. I am not a good runner. I'm a below average runner. Now, as a real estate investor, I'm elite. In the software business, I'm elite. So I find, and obviously I enjoy those things more because I'm elite at them, but I enjoyed them more to make sure I spent and invested the time to become elite. So that's what I had to say about that, Dion. Guy, honestly, whatever. Yeah, that's what I got to say about that. Pallavi Patel, hey, good morning. Good morning. Good to have you. Matt Bittner, there are some low income areas in my area that are gentrifying, yep, due to nearby large development. For me, the bad neighborhoods that look like they're getting better is what I'm interested in. Yep, totally get it. I did that before the last crash, so the Great Recession, 7 and 8. I bought something in 06. It was transitioning. The stuff around it was transitioning. It was going from a C to a B. Within 2 years of buying that property, it was not even close to a B. It was a C and actually fell back into a D. Fell to a D. So you can do that, but that's where some guys talk about you can go broke buying that stuff. It's speculation and it's impossible to know. For me, I've bought where the numbers worked when I bought them, and then looked at some of those other factors and said, okay, I believe it's going to go here from this. But my timeline, right? So other people were buying in my area thinking it was going to be the next ritzy town. I started buying here 20 years ago. They thought it was going to happen in 5 years. They were dead wrong. I believed it would take 15, maybe 20 years. I was right. We are now where this other town was only about 10 years ago, but it took us 20 years to get there, or maybe 5 years ago, but it took us 20 years to get there. So that's why time in the market beats timing the market. That's why almost all the stuff that I bought from the crash in 9, 10, 11, some 12 stuff is all double or triple what I paid for it. Again, market makes me look smart, but I was kind of smart because I was able to look at the market and say, I don't know timing wise if this is necessarily going to happen in a year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, but it's going to happen. It's going to come back. Things always have to come back. People need houses. All those things delayed. We're literally in our area, we're thousands of units short. I said yes to 2 people. I said no to 210. Think about that. 3 days. And every day thereafter, it was 30 or 40 more, or 20 to 40 more applicants every single day. So yeah, I had speculation, but my speculation was 20 years. It was the numbers working while they were there. And, other things being added, other bigger developments and things like that have really high cost structures. A 2-bedroom unit in my quote unquote A-class competition here is $2,600. I can rent out for 16 and I make 700 a door, 800 a door. So I don't need to ever be at that number, but his high number raises me up to 2,000. If the economy goes bust and I'm wrong, and it's not just a correction, it's a real deep recession, or great recession like in '08, and rents go, and the market doesn't support a $2,800 rent anymore, it might be 2,100, 2,200. At that number, they're losing money. They're not making money at that number. At my number, if I have to go back down to 15, even though I've never had to lower rents, let's just say I had to go back down to 15, I'm still making $600-700 a door on a 2-bed. So don't really care. Matt Bittner, there's some, oh no, nope, already read that one. Ryan Allen, how is the process going with adding the floor to your building? Yeah, I last heard you were working with a structural engineer. So that structural engineer got fired. They got fired because of delaying me, costing me about $7,000 in carry. So they got fired. Just hired a new guy last week. We talked, we did the interview. I adore the guy already. He's a rock star. He measured within 3 days of our initial phone call. And he's like, I'm super crazy busy. He's like, if you're cool with it, I'll go out, find a time to measure in the next few days. And he goes, and then it's probably going to take me a couple of weeks to get you to get your plans. Dude, fine. He's like, it might be 3. He's like, it's probably gonna be a couple. Fine. He even said to me, he goes, I've been doing this for 30 years. You're gonna be around $5,000. I was like, awesome. Sounds great. Do it to it. And so I should have my drawings the first week of June is when I should have my drawings. So yeah, so far, yeah, not bad. Matt Binder, I got a $2,500 quote for a new sewer line. Is that in a yard? That's probably in a yard. That's probably not talking about road work. So yeah, 2,500, depending on what they're doing, usually isn't too bad. If they're digging up the line, replacing the line, putting in the new supporting, crushed stone underneath it, doing the caution tape on top of it, refilling the land. If they're doing all that for $2,500, yeah, that's not horrible. That's what I would kind of expect if you get like a company start to finish, not like a Roto-Rooter or that type of place. So yeah, that's not bad. Pallavi Patel, valuable sewer info. Thank you, Pallavi. Pallavi's the best. Aaron Leeds, I'm a sub 2 Pace Morby student, 1,000% worth it. I have Michael Zuber's course as well, 100% worth it. Awesome. So far, Pace Morby's course, I would say yes. It teaches seller finance, sub 2, wholesaling, and they provide lots of coaches and link ups with people doing the same. There's a lot of hidden value if you actually use it. Cool. Yeah, I think a lot of those courses are using it. I think there's a lot of fake gurus out there too, but there's no magic potion. You've got to do the work. That's why Mike talks about doing the work all the time. His is a great course, but if you don't actually go through everything and study it, study the course. That's the purpose. Not just read it once, study it, highlight it, go back to it, make notes, fine tune, make the process your own. He's giving you kind of the guiding principles. You kind of roll into the rest of it. But yeah, I think that's awesome. I think that's really good. Yeah, I would do, the only reason that I haven't done a course like Paces is because, so Ryan Nickel has his stuff in Mike's course. But largely speaking for me it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work that you, and it will pay off, but I'm not a full-time investor. I'm a part-time investor. But yeah, Drew, great feedback. And Aaron Leeds. Aaron, thank you for the great feedback as well. Bobby Simpson, if you took 6 months to 12 months upfront rent, what would happen if there was a significant lease violation after 3 months? How would you handle the upfront payments, assuming prepay rent is legal? So assuming prepay rent is legal, if there was an issue, then certainly any unused rent I would return. I would consult my attorney and just say, what's the best way to handle this? That's what I have an attorney for. So I wouldn't make up any rules hard and fast. I would literally just call my attorney and say, hey, this is what's going on. This is what's happening. What do you think we should do here? And then basically just go based on that. Give me just 1 second here, guys. Oh yeah, cool. So I will have, we're in the process now of finishing a 170-year-old building that all the other people that looked at it wanted to tear it down. And I said, absolutely not. I will not tear this down. We will fix the foundation. If you look at my Instagram, Lumberjack Landlord on Instagram, I tell you to follow me there. I've not had a bunch of content that I'm putting out there, but I have a bunch that I'm going to start putting back out there. It's just been really busy the last few weeks with the real work. And so I'm going to, but definitely look on there. You'll see a lot of that being redone. And it's just coming out just the nuts. It's just coming out killer. Very, very excited. Hold on 1 second. Why is this not doing this? Hold on. Golly. Why is that not doing it? Oh, there we go. Hold on a second. Oh, nice. Yeah, they got the right corner in there. Good, good. Yeah, like this place just is going to look amazing. Absolutely amazing. And it's, again, it's a 170-year-old house and every other developer just wanted to rip it down. Golly. You can fix what's there, guys. JC, did you talk about the last recession, what happened to your property values versus rental demand and rent trajectory? Oh my goodness, JC. I should probably do a video on that because I get asked that a lot and it's a long explanation. I'll tell you this kind of abbreviated version. Values were down over the course of about 2 years, 2.5 years. They were down 30%. The value I didn't so much care about, it was the rents. So August, I had 8 paying tenants. September is when the crash actually happened in 2008. I went down to 3 paying tenants because a bunch lost their jobs. And it wasn't like a few lost their jobs, like all the guys in construction all lost their jobs. And then by October, I had 1 paying tenant. So I was working every day, going to work every day just to pay my mortgages every day. Yeah. Sad but true. Sad but true. Yeah. Yep. So that's how it affected me. And then over the course of that next, we had some money to carry, but I was working my job every day just to pay my mortgages, pay the water bills, and save up money literally to get people evicted because I was just like, just pay what you can. And I literally just worked with them to pay what they could. But largely speaking, yeah, most of them DQ'd, disqualified. Yep. 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 So it was hard. It was brutal. Rent trajectory. So now that building, so one of them that comes to top of mind, that was the one that I bought that was borderline DC class, then got up into the B class. I bought it for $349. Owned it for 2 years. Rent collection was all right. Made a little bit of money every month, but not a ton. Return was all right. Return was probably 10%. But it being an hour away hurt. Getting reliable maintenance people to go take care of stuff was a problem. I held that property I bought that in 05 or 06. I held it until 18, where the market was popping in that area. And I sold it for $312, $315. So I took a $35,000 hit on it. Yep. Lost money on that property after 12 years of holding it. I mean, the rents, but the big thing for me was mortgage pay down. I was aggressive in how I paid down the mortgage. I had a 20-year mortgage on it, I think. So, or no, a 25. So I actually ended up walking at the table with $70,000 or $80,000 of my money. But I got paid $75,000, $80,000 for owning it. But yeah, got my butt kicked on that thing. I'm watching birds out my window. Only piece of real estate I ever sold that I lost money. Way it goes. And I just didn't want to be in that area anymore. The other property that I sold in that area, I made some money on, but the deal was I wanted both to go to market. I wanted both to be sold at the same time. So I never wanted to drive out there again. I never wanted to have a tenant out there again. In fact, I hadn't been to that building because I had maintenance people. I hadn't been to that building in 3 years. I PTSD, didn't want to go there. It was time to sell. We had nothing but problems. Of my 9 evictions, 6 of them were there. So, since I got rid of that building, I think I've done 2 evictions, 2 or 3. 3. Yeah. Since I sold that building in 2018, I've done 3 evictions in my three cities. So yeah, for what it's worth. Matt Bittner, can you imagine where the 210 people are going to live? No, I can't. And 25 to 30% of them are Section 8. They have vouchers expiring, things like that. Supply and demand, guys. Supply and demand. So yeah. That's why we take strong consideration. We don't just take like the best credit score or the best income. I just said no to somebody that makes 240 grand a year because they were being a dick. I was like, no, not interested. Like, I'm sure I'm the best qualified tenant that you're getting. It's like, you aren't. You're not even the one that makes the most income. Individually, he is. She is. She is. Individually, she is, but not cumulatively. And if you're gonna be a jerk to me, bye. Honest to God, I don't have to rent to you. Kill me now sometimes, honestly. Yeah. Niles Patel. Hey, Niles. Afternoon, Lumberjack. I have an awesome day. Awesome. I love it. Aaron Leitz, what are your general guidelines to accept a tenant? So we do it's kind of 2-piece. First piece is I want your last 3 months that you paid to your landlord. I want visual proof. I want pay stubs, and I want a screenshot of your Credit Karma score with your name on it. Because I'm not trying to run up the bill. I think that's where I'm a really awesome landlord. I don't want to charge you $40 to run tenant and criminal check and all that other stuff. So we find that if we go through that entire process, then we look at all the backup stuff on your application. So we have kind of what I would call a quick app. If I look at those first 3 things and they all hold up, I'll look at the rest of your app. If those first 3 things don't hold up, if they're marginal, I'll look at them. But if they're not, like I got somebody apply with a 470 credit score. A 470 credit score. 470. 470. Dude, you're not getting housing in hell with a 470. Like 470. And I was the jerk. Honest to God with some of these people. Contractor. They're impressed with their work. Beautiful. All-nighter hire. There he is. There he is. I'm here. We can start now. Thank God. An hour late. Dear heavens. Don Etherton. Nice course and real information you can use. Yep. When I first started investing in the information was so far out there, it would be a miracle if it worked. Yeah, it was very like the 1980s courses and the 1990s courses, and even a lot of like the flip these house courses. I've seen a lot of that stuff, and it's very conceptual, very conceptual. It's not do this step, dot, 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 dot. It's very conceptual. Yep. Yep. So that's my take on that. Drew A. Michael Zuber's course really teaches you how to learn your market. Yep. And gave me the confidence to buy my first duplex with a house hack VA loan. I love it. The conflict I have is so far in Pace Morby's courses is it seems like the deals are everywhere and it's hard to concentrate and feel like you truly know the market you're buying. Yeah. So I think for him, they are everywhere because he's got like a 50-person company and all they do is generate leads all day long. So he's, if you watch his triple digit flit show, he's always got 2 or 3 houses that they're picking between to do their next project. Like, That's a really awesome position to be in. But do you realize that there's a room, an entire company behind him of 30, 40, 50 people? And all they do every single day, they're trying to find deals for him. That's why it's a little bit different. So I appreciate where you're coming from, Drew. I totally get it. But I know that it can be fixed if you look for sub two deals in a specific area you want. Yeah, that's for sure. And that's why, Mike and I always talk about, I mean, for me, I always want to live in the market that I'm going to be in, and I try and find the opportunity. There's almost always an asset class that will perform in the market that I want to be in. And that's why for me, I went from, singles to saying, yeah, that's not really going to work. There's no real margin there, to tries, and then house hacking in a try, then dupe, then multiple dupes, house hacking, and then finally getting into a single family after I moved, 9 times in 13 years. So yeah, it's definitely a process, and you're gonna kind of find that pocket. JC, wow, puts lots of strain on the family relationship to have to shell out money for mortgage, etc., for investment property. You ain't lying. I mean, that's the thing is, my wife, Ashley and I, we've been together for 16, almost 17 years. We had just gotten married. Like, it was the worst. That's why we always joke about the fact that like marriage now is kind of easy compared to what it was like our first 1 or 2 years. Our first 1 or 2 years was horrible. I was a young guy making 6 figures, top of my game, doing great things. And then the economy went boom, and all the hard work that I put in was just then to try and maintain it. We almost went bankrupt 2 or 3 times, where it was like, okay, this is going to flip. This one flips us upside down now. There's just no way we're going to be able to recover from this. But, having for us and our, if you guys have seen any of the updates on Eliana, my daughter, we pray, we have a relationship with God. And so we talk about that stuff. And so we talk about that as a family. And so that helped us get through. So we're grateful. But it wasn't, sometimes people confuse this with this. It's not this, wasn't this. We didn't like automatically have our stuff like get cleaned up and disappear and get all better. We went through awful, horrible stuff, but we knew that we could make it through. We just would stick together and just keep on working at it together. And so for us, yeah, we made it to made it through it, made it to the other side. And now, now reaping the benefits of a lot of time, money, effort, energy, and sacrifice. So, but yeah. So yeah, JC, yep, you got it. It was hard. Chris Webb, good morning from Central Virginia. Hey, Chris, good morning. Sam Farho, are dog bite incidents documented somewhere online, or do you want to meet the tenant's pet before you rent to the tenant? I don't know. I think that might be state dependent. I think you could. Yeah, I don't know. I always have them, if they have a dog, they have to have insurance for the dog. Yep, they got to have insurance. If you want to bring in a dog, you got to have insurance. I've not required pet insurance when they have a cat. So yeah, but when they have a dog, I require insurance. Chris Webb, I'm about to head out to an open house and spread the word about cash on cash return. I love it. That's awesome. Get that rock. Return on cash. Return on capital. Sam Farho, when you take security or holding deposit, do you return it back if the tenant changes their mind and you already took the property off the market? If I have it re-rented for that same time period, yes. If I don't, I don't. That's what costs them. That's why you get a deposit. That's why you're giving me a deposit. Let's say move-in date is June 1st. When must the lease be signed? Oh, I only take deposit and the lease at the same time that they're approved, and then it's their apartment. If they then call me and back out and I've already cashed the check, I will say, okay, I'll try and re-rent the unit, but you're still on the hook for paying, like until it's re-rented. And the court, I think, allows that for up to, I don't know what the rule is for possession. Ask your attorney. I don't know what the laws are in your state, so ask your attorney. Because that's what I would do. I'd just pick up the phone and say, hey, how should we handle this? Yep. Robert Farinelli. So basically, based on your story, Matt, you are saying that I am screwed in the next few years because I miss Manchester. I told you I hated Manchester. I'm jaded, Rob. I'm jaded. I hate Manchester. I hate it. I hate it. I hated the inspectors. I hated the tenants that I got. And I started out liking everybody. And I hated all of them because at the end of the day, it was excuse after excuse after excuse after excuse. Oh, we can't get there because of this, and we can't see this because of this. And oh, well, we were there and you missed us. You were there 2 hours early. Yeah, you still missed us. So we're charging you for an appointment. I was like, you can't do that. Try and fight City Hall on that one. Didn't go well for me. So yeah, Manchester for me was just a city that just never worked. There are investors that crush in Manchester and they make a ton of money. I just was not one of them. Maybe it was wrong timing. Maybe I'm the wrong personality type. I don't know. I could not, for me, and the way I do business, where I'm hands-on, I want to see problems, I want to fix problems, I want to rehab the place to my caliber so I can see it enough, get good crews. Almost none of my crew now will even go to Manchester, and you've met them, right? And they're amazing. You've talked to them. They're amazing people, but they're not going to Manchester because there's a lot of crews there that do stuff like low budget and they lowball stuff. And my guys are just like, you know what? We're not going to mess with that. We want to pay for people that know our value. So I'm not saying you're screwed because I would never say that. But yeah, I couldn't do it. I ran. It wasn't a fit for me. REI3. Hey, what's up? Good to see you again. Good to see you again. Appreciate you coming. Johnny Cash Ramirez. I gave self-management as an option, but I take it all back now. Yes. It's hard. It's not easy. It's not easy. It really isn't. You know, at the end of the day, non-sponsored, Sprite zero sugar. I really love cold water, but I can't drink it because that's when I clear my throat the whole time. Some listener caught that, and I thought about it, and I was like, that's my problem. I'm drinking too much cold water, and I haven't spent the day talking to warm everything up first, like I do when I'm at work. So yeah, Mike is basically my lunch break on Tuesdays. I take the time to do that on Tuesdays for my lunch break. Bobby Simpson, looking for a good lease agreement in Washington State. What's the best resources to get a rock solid one? Any real estate attorney? What should I expect to pay for it approximately? Willing to pay for sure. Bobby Simpson, I would say look at Dion Talk Financial Freedom. I don't know if he'll share his lease. He might, but he definitely will put you in the right places. I know Bigger Pockets has leases for every state, but don't love it. I mean, a lot of times when you find like a generalized or a lease that's made for a state from a bigger conglomerate, it's got a bunch of stuff in there that you don't really want in there that just like makes it mud. Like I don't want to be handing my tenants. I've literally seen a 17-page lease before for a residential unit. Come on. You're going to like, the judge is going to look at that and go, really? Because you really don't need that much paper. So I would talk to Dion Talk Financial Freedom. I would definitely look at him. If he doesn't have a link for it on his site, I know that he would know where to get it. His live streams are Tuesday nights at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern, and he usually goes for about 3 hours until the questions end, but I would definitely ask him. I think that will be your best bet because he's actually a landlord in Washington. What should you expect to pay? So here's a little hack. Here is a hack from me. I look at the attorneys that were in my areas that were doing evictions. I then started asking around at what attorneys in the area are also landlords. Yep. Found out who the attorneys were that also were landlords, talked to each of them, kind of had a feel, of, I really kind of like this guy. So because I liked him so much, I just said, hey, I want to work with you moving forward. And he's like, yeah, sounds good. He had heard of me, had experience. We had a lot of people in kind of the same circles because we do business in the same kind of 2-3 towns. And I said, the only thing I would ask you for is a copy of your lease that you use for your tenants. He's like, really? I said, yeah. He said, why? I said, because if you go to court, you don't have an excuse to lose. I'll follow your lease. The tenant should follow your lease. And so I just want to know that I'm putting you in the best position to win any case that we ever have an issue with. And again, I'm overprotective. I've had 9 evictions in 3,000 tenant years. So I just want to make sure. He's like, yeah, that sounds fair. And I got the lease for free. Didn't have to pay a penny for it. How's that for a hack? Because the last lease I paid $1,400 for, and it was garbage. It was garbage. Didn't compare. It wasn't even close to as good as his. His was certifiably awesome. Yeah, so hopefully that helps. Chris Webb, do you think there will be an opportunity to purchase failing Airbnb in the next 6 months? I think so. I think so. Yeah, potentially. Yeah, there's 100 and something units in my market that are Airbnb. I don't know if they work as long-term rentals based on what they would try and charge for the building, but yeah, yep. It certainly is a possibility. If they overpaid to get it because of what the rate of return was as an Airbnb, yeah, potentially. If they had it floor planned outside of a regular bank, yeah, potentially. Yeah, so I like the idea. Yeah, I think so. I don't think there's going to be like I think that we make up supply based on 5 or 6 different areas. So I think there will be some foreclosures, not that many. I think there will be some Airbnbs, not that many. I think there'll be some landlords that want to give up, not that many. I think that the market really starts to give us like 6 different streams of opportunity coming in. But it's not going to be heavy level on any of them. And I'm concerned that I think still demand might still outpace that supply still. I mean, because listen, as this is humor, as smart as I am and as great as I was taking out all that equity on all those properties, I'm not the only one who did it. There's other people that did it. Am I more prepared than 90% of the market? Yeah. But still 10% of the market is just as prepared as me, if not better. So those, the 10 or 12 guys I know, probably a couple of them levered up. The rest of them didn't. But that's like a group that I know. I know that some of the bigger boys, oh yeah, they have, forget about 7 figures. They've got 8 figures sitting there ready to do deals. So it's going to be competition. It's just going to be smaller number of us, I think, because I don't think everybody levered up. Mark Galvin, morning, Lumberjack. Good morning, Mark. Good to have you here. Aaron Leitz, where are good places to find accurate real estate statistical data online for making good forward-thinking real estate investor business decisions? Black Knight. Black Knight's really good. Lumberjack Landlord's pretty good. I just tell you what I'm doing in my business. The challenging thing is that it really, truly is market specific. So Black Knight does the entire country. I don't think Case Shiller is worth the paper it's printed on, largely speaking, because it's the 20 top metros in the country. I don't invest there, so I don't really care. And some of those metros saw bigger declines than the residential stuff around them last time. So I want data around the stuff that I'm doing, for what it's worth. Marisha Ninehauser, what is reasoning behind insurance for a dog but not for a cat? Because a cat's never bitten anybody that I got sued for. The dog thing, so it's not insurance for any like damage that they do around the house. I've not seen a policy like that. It's purely like bite stuff. And dogs being outside or biting or going after and killing somebody else's cat. Never heard that from a cat perspective. So that's really the reasoning behind it, is it's much more about protection there, from a bite, from a mauling, from a damage perspective, like, the dog jumping up on a car and scratching some guy's brand new car, that sort of stuff. So never had any experience like that with a cat. Yeah, never had an experience like that with a cat. Not saying that it couldn't happen. I just haven't seen it happen yet. JC, would you buy Section 8 property with great cash and cash return, but minimal appreciation upside, e.g. parts of Baltimore? Oh, so I don't know that market at all, except for who was who there was yeah, there was a special done on that. I can't remember who did the special, but holy Toledo. Really bad parts of Baltimore. Like that scares me. That's not a market. That's like some parts of Manchester couldn't pay me to invest in there. C class is the lowest I'll go. I won't go to D class. So I don't know that market potentially. Do they show the same 6 streets on every special that they do on Baltimore and crime? Maybe, I don't know. Don't know the market that well. So I wish I could answer that question, but I honestly don't know an answer. It's not based on any it's not based on any facts or numbers. It's only based on what I've seen on TV. So I wouldn't listen to me. Robert Fairley, well, so far the inspector was nice and didn't charge me anything. Cool. He allowed me to send pictures instead of come out and charge me money for my COC. That's awesome. Yeah, they have 37 of those guys. And so it's hit or miss. Hit or miss. Chris Webb, not a sponsor yet. Thank you, Chris. Robert Farinelli also because I am in an even better location than your Pearl Street. I think this one will be fine. Next one we will see. Yeah, Pearl Street though had a major draw. I was super close to the park. I was super close to the private school that was there. Bartlett was the one that was really bad, not Pearl. Pearl was awesome. I never had really any issues with Pearl at all. We had the issues right around the crash, but not after that. And if you look it up, you guys can look up Pearl Street, 331, 333 Pearl Street in Manchester, New Hampshire. That was one that I bought and sold. And that house, look at it now. I bet that's nicer than 85% of the houses represented here. Because it's nice. We did everything in that house by the time it was all said and done. It was a beautiful, stately Victorian farmer's porch, sided windows, like kitchens. It was nice. It was nice. But yeah, take a look at it. And you guys tell me. You can look at it right up on zero. 331 through 333 Pearl Street. Mark Galvin, Nolo Press has a rental contract. Nolo Press. Okay, cool. Thanks for serving that up. Brian. Hey, Brian, we haven't spoken before. I'm super excited you're here. Have you heard much about service animals? Yes. ESAs. Yes. Service animals aren't subject to pet restrictions. So they are emotional support animals, not service animals. Service are completely different. Support are not. Service animals have been trained. Support animals have not been trained, and it can cover a hamster, a turtle, a lizard, not joking, a tarantula, because it's an emotional support animal. It's how that person feels supported and it has a relationship with that pet. Service animals are completely different. If I'm blind, if I have trouble getting around, if I have epilepsy, if I need a wheelchair, I also have a service. Those are service animals. You're talking about emotional support animals, and they're completely different things. Yeah. Yep. Dion Talk Financial Freedom. Email me. Happy to share my lease. Cool, but only with people in Washington because leases are very state specific. Yes, yes, yes. Like I always say, state specific lease, but yeah, so you guys can connect. Awesome. Thanks, Dion. Sam Farrow, how would you buy an ADU and what criteria are you looking into that ADU? So usually, an auxiliary dwelling unit, ADU, or additional dwelling unit, depending on what state you're in. Those are units, those are secondary units on the same piece of property. So you're not buying an ADU. You can build an ADU, you can buy a property that has an ADU, but you're not buying an ADU. By definition, an ADU is an additional unit on the same lot. If it's subdivided off, it actually becomes its own individual unit. So it's no longer an ADU. Indy Zimmer, do you recommend house hacking as a start for newbie? 1000% yes. Easy question, amazing answer. Look at my 4-3-2-1 strategy. Look at, there's a video on my channel for that. It's in Mike's course. Dion has stuff on Dion Talk Financial Freedom. We both have been house hackers for over a decade. So yes, that's exactly how I would start. I would not start owning your own home and then buying investment properties. Like if you don't own your own home now and you're saying, I'll buy my house first, then I'll invest. For me, my decision that I made was I bought into investment properties, lived in them, and then went one to the next, so I could get favorable rates, favorable terms, and could grow my wealth over time, as opposed to buying a single family home to start. So yes, great question, Indy. Great question. Brian, heard about one tenant with 7 emotional support animals, huge dogs, saying she's exempt from rent deposits based on her ESA internet license. I don't believe that's the case. I believe that what it does exempt you from is not being able to have them. I don't believe it exempts you from fees at all. I would check your local attorney and I would check your local law, but I don't believe that to be the case. I believe that you still have to pay the fee. I just believe that you're allowed to have it even if the policy is no pets. I believe that's the case, but again, check your local attorney, make sure that they're right. Brian, LOL, holy Toledo, as I sit watching you in Toledo. Yes. Yeah, crazy. All-nighter hider. Court can be avoided by not being the party in dispute. Yep. A conditional acceptance is the way to avoid conflict. Accept their offer so long as then the other party is on the hook. Yep, true. Robert Fiornelli, 90% of single family homes in my neighborhood. Yep, 10% duplexes. Number 3 and up single family zone, South Manchester, I think I will be fine. Yeah, I think so. Yep. But even in that time, that market still went down 30%. There wasn't a part of Manchester that didn't go down 30% in the Great Recession. All of it went down. All of it went down. 30 was kind of the norm. Other areas was 40, 50. Yep. So yeah. I think that supply and demand is still the story of the day. You know, I think rates, I talked to all my agents this week and all of them said, if something's hitting the market at a reasonable price, it's sold within a couple of days, and still plenty of it going over ask. So they're not seeing 40 offers on properties anymore, but they're still seeing 3, 4, and 5. Just fact. Yeah. Yep. Mark Galvin, for Brian, check the doctor letter, must be within the last year. Also check with the local code for number of animal allowed. Yep. Those are all areas to look on. Yeah, that was something that, again, support animals, it depends on your state. And in fact, I think even some cities have ordinances. So yeah, you just have to do the research, but it's a new thing. It's a different thing. I mean, again, from a service animal perspective, I would never stop somebody from a service perspective. From a support perspective, I think that you still have to observe the rules, you know, because I think that there are rules around that. They're formulating them in our state. Because yeah, to your point, they can just say, oh, it's an emotional support animal. Okay. Is it really? You need 7 dogs to support you. So yeah. Right now, a friend's mom has a small dog as a service dog to help with her diabetes. Yep. Sure. But that dog is, so the difference is support versus service. Service is trained, support is not. Support can be any pet. Service is usually a specific pet that is trained to aid in a medical emergency, in some daily support, not emotional, but actual physical support, like, you know, whatever. There's a number of things. All-nighter hider, eating the nutrients one's body needs and making wise decisions is the best emotional support next to God. Okay. There's magic in those McDonald's burgers, though. Just saying. Hold on one second. Not a contractor. Ryan Allen, if you have a building with a large lot, would it be better to split and build or go with an ADU option? Probably depends on local rules. 100% depends on local rules. I've done both. Actually, I've done the subdivide split off. I've done that. I have not officially done an ADU yet because it's not built, but I'm going through the process, much like Mike Zuber went rental at the time. I talked to him on Friday and I challenged him. I said, I'll beat you. And he started 8 months ago. But I think the California rules, I think, are a lot more difficult. We're plenty sophisticated in New Hampshire, but we have a very kind of clean, cut and dry legal process for this stuff, where a lot of times we can get things approved based on the interviews that I've had, based on the people I've talked to, can get approved in 60 days. So yeah, so we'll see. We shall see. Indy Zimmer, yay, thank you. You're welcome, Indy. Happy to help. And come hang out in our live stream anytime. I'm happy to answer questions. Johnny Cashflow Ramirez, I'm thinking of selling one of my rentals. Okay. I'll have it 3 years when we sell. Okay. I'm thinking of selling it with a wraparound mortgage, being that I have a 3.3% interest rate and 50% equity. Okay. It doesn't cash flow that great. Would cash flow great with a wraparound? Any thoughts or places I could find more info? I don't. I've not ever sold anything that way. I would probably ask Zuber. I would probably ask Mike Zuber. I don't know if he's structured anything like that before on the sell side, but I think he might have bought some stuff that way. I would ask him. He's done more creative financing deals than I have. Yeah, he's done more creative financing deals than I have, for sure. JC, the property you sold at a loss. Yep. Was that sold to another investor or a homeowner house hacker? Yep. Good question. Well done. Yep. House hacker. It was. And that guy is probably, so I looked that property up. He is probably up 40% since 2018. So good for him. Good for him. I saw the property too. He hasn't done anything to the outside. I don't know what he was done to the inside, but the outside's nice. But it was the way I sold it to him. So yeah, interesting. So yeah, great question. Right now, Indy, house hacking is a great way to start. We started with a duplex to house hack. Awesome. Very good, Ryan. Yep. Yeah. The idea though, just so you guys know, is just real briefly, the 4-3-2-1 strategy is that way for a reason. A lot of the, Fannie Freddie behind the scenes, they won't let you move very often from a single family to a duplex or from a dupe to a tri. So you always want to start at a 4 if you can. The reason why is because it's basically impossible to go from a 3 to a 4 unless you're moving a significant distance away. It's very straightforward and much less work to get approved if you're going from 4 to 3 to 2 to 1. It's much, much, much more acceptable when that loan is getting sold, because now they don't feel like you're using it purely for an investment purposes. And that's what they feel when you try and go from duplex to triplex, because they look at it and go, why would anybody go from a duplex to a triplex? And it's not like they really, really care. They just need that, need that itch scratched. But a lot of times you can't scratch it. A lot of times I've seen a number of those denied, because they're just like, no, you can buy that as an investment property, because that's really what it is. So I have seen that. And those are the types of rules that got far more stringent in 8, 9, 10, 11. Those are the rules that they really squeezed on. DTI, house hack, and where you were moving up and down, getting the additional property, even though the rule, they went from 10 units down to 4, or 10 buildings down to 4 buildings, or mortgages, 10 mortgages down to 4 mortgages. So yeah, just as an FYI, yeah, so you can go duplex to single family, you certainly can. But if the opportunity's there, they'll count 80 to 85% of your rent in the fourplex. So if you can live with a 2 bedroom, in a fourplex, or a 3 bedroom in a fourplex, I've seen those. I own a threeplex that's all 3 bedrooms. That's like a perfect house hack property, right? Because you're getting 2 rents for 2 3 bedrooms. If I were house hacking that property, I'd be making over $1,500 a month just by renting out the 2 units and living there for free. So I'd be making 1,500 living there for free. And yeah, I would do that until I found another 3 to move into. You can sometimes move laterally. Sometimes I've seen them stopping that too. But again, that was based on the rules back in 9, 10, 11, 12. Who knows if they're more relaxed this time, if they have more freedom there. Don't know, because it's been 5 years since I've house hacked with a mortgage. Rob, when are you and Mike going to do a sales training course? Hell no. Hell no. Nope. If Mike asked me, I might consider it, but for me, no way. Nope. I taught solution selling 20 years ago because I generally liked it. There's 9 boxes. There's it's a 9-box system. I taught that one time, and it was such an arduous week. It was so brutal. Was it 2 weeks? No, it was a full week. Yeah, it was just a solid week. It was like, then they try and basically cram everything into that 1 week. And so the last couple nights you're up late, working super late. Yeah, no interest in teaching sales. I teach sales every day in my job. So yeah, no sales training course that I know of. I mean, unless you want to pay me a lot of money to do it. What would you use it for, Rob? What would you use it for? Johnny Cashflow Ramirez, it doesn't cash flow that great. Oh yeah, yep, I already read that one. Chris Webb, I met some other investors locally in Lynchburg, yep, and I have been tracking their progress. How do I remain encouraging even though I've never done a rehab? I give them as much moral support that I can. Yeah, I mean, that's all you can really do. Is I always just encourage people to just keep on looking the numbers, keep the budget in mind, don't get emotional, don't get emotionally attached. Don't make specific design choices based on things that are specific to you. That's one of the things, as gifted as Pace is, some of the design decisions that he makes or that their company makes in their triple digit flip are abhorrent. They're horrible. That stuff looks beautiful right now, but in 2 or 3 years, it's going to age so poorly that it's probably going to cost that person when they sell. So for me, don't really, I kind of keep a very clean palette that people can add things to, grays, some colors in some places, but it's very minimal. That way, if they ever wanted to change it out, not a big job, stuff like that. So that's the best thing you can do, is just stay supportive. Just, I think I push people like, okay, so why'd you make that decision? Because I always like perspective. So why'd you make that decision? And it's not like questioning them, but it's questioning their process. If you want to get better, I question other people's processes. So, but Robert Farinelli, I care more about tenant problems during a recession than price. Sure, my property value might go down. Yep. But I'm not expecting a bunch of tenant problems because of high quality tenant pool. Yeah, sure. Yep. Robert Farinelli, not expect the 1 out of 8 paying. Yeah, well, they were all pretty high quality. I mean, there were guys in that group that weren't paying anymore, that were making $80,000 a year, and that was 15 years ago. So they're making over 100 now. So we had a pretty good tenant pool. Yep, we had some roommate situations where 2 out of the 3 lost their job that month. What else? Yeah, all sorts of fun stuff like that. Yeah, it was mainly there were a lot of it was just a lot of job loss in those sectors. And that was one of the lessons I learned was, having so many people all doing one thing. That's probably what hurt us most in that regard. Yeah. And then we had one that just didn't lose their job altogether. They were just garbage people. They just decided to stop, use it as an excuse to stop paying rent. So RE3, I would get rid of any 3% mortgages today. I would not. Yeah. Oh, of course. Yeah. I wouldn't. Yeah, because that's asset that you can like and buy. But if he's talking about doing a wraparound, that actually is part of the value of the deal and probably gets him a significant amount of cash in that deal. So yeah, I would always explore any of those. Depends on how elaborate you want to get. For me, the reason I hate syndication, A, because I think they're going to lose a lot of money, but B, and most importantly, is I want the control over my money in a deal. That way, if I got to get out quickly, I can get out quickly. I can put the property up for sale and get out of it in 30, 60 days. I can wholesale it if I had to. You don't have any of those options in a syndication. And so I like any deal that I do to have it be my money, no partners, and then I make the decision. You may be right. Thanks for the great info, Lumberjack. You're welcome. You may be right. Excuse me. You may be right. I think you asked a question on one of my videos this week. I forget what it was, but I lost it on my phone. So if you wanted to re-ask that question, because I think it was something where I had said, yeah, I can cover that on the Sunday live stream, but it was a longer response. And I'm not the best typer in the world, so I'm more than happy to do that. Art Farinelli, there, even though I was moving to much better area, they wouldn't go from duplex to duplex. Yep. Yeah. So that is definitely a yeah, they stop that. It's one of the things that they watch. They don't want what's really funny is they say you have 4 mortgages that you can do, but they can still deny a mortgage even if you are on property number 2 or property number 3. They can still deny it if the underwriter believes that you're using it for investment purposes. It's like, of course I'm using it for investment purposes, even though I'm still house hacking. So that's one of those rules that I think is just stupid. We'll allow you to have 4 mortgages. We'll allow 4 mortgages to be Fannie Freddie. However, we won't allow you to house hack on the second one. And because it's a duplex and you're going to a triplex, like I said, those loans get denied, just like Robert said. So yeah, I do hear about those all the time, or not all the time, but often enough. Antonio Barajas. Good morning, Lumberjack. Good morning. Question on multifamily. How do they do inspection and a couple of things on now? Do I know if it's a good deal? How do they do inspection? They like a house, when you hire your own inspector, for the purpose of buying it, they will literally go unit by unit and they'll have a full-on report. So that's why they charge more too. So like a single family house might be $600, $700, $800. A duplex might be $1,200. A triplex might be $1,800 as an example. So it gets more expensive the number of units. I paid a little over $4,000 for an inspection report. It was a 12-unit building and I was having them check each and every electrical panel. Like, it was in depth. I think the guy was there for 7 or 8 hours. But yeah, it was like $4,000. Or $3,000. I was $3 or $4 grand. But yeah, they literally go unit by unit. So just like they do in a house where they check all the GFCIs next to sinks and next to vanities in the bathrooms and the showers and the tubs and the the basements and the separate heating systems. It's literally like an inspection that's 3 times as large just in the same building. So they go through that same exact process. Nothing different there. Nothing different there. JC, what is a wrap around mortgage? You're better off Googling it because I won't do it justice. It's not something that I've done. And so I don't talk about it only because I'm not an expert at it. But if you Google it, that will give you a better explanation than I will give you, because I can get you there, but I won't get you there the short way that Google will, for sure. I had something. Kinchu, what happens when you list a property for rent and you get a lot of people applying? Yep. So Kent, how many people applied? Can I still adjust the rent amount given the demand at this point? So you can, but it's how you do it. Robert Farinelli, which insulation do you use when you don't want to rip out walls? I am not to the point yet where I'm using the fill-in spray foam. The only thing that we've done is the porting and cellulose hard pack. That's the only thing that we've used. So cellulose hard pack. Yep. So Kent Chu, if you tell me what a lot is, I'll tell you how to get around your problem. Ryan Allen, back in 2019, I paid for 2 inspections. Yep. The first was $900 on a single family, and then a duplex that I bought was $1,150, but I get a discount for using the same company. Yeah. 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 So those ranges, and that's in Maine. So that's right in range. Yep. Yeah. $700, $800, $900, right around there. Yep. JC, do you check zoning before purchasing? Yep. What do you check for with property tax increase expected with the new sale price? So really good question, JC. Really good question. JC, you're bringing the heat. You're bringing the heat. Well done. Well done. I do check zoning because I want to know, is there the possibility, is it zoned as a duplex and it's a single family? That's how I found an awesome deal this year that I made an absolute gargantuan amount of money on that deal. Gargantuan. In my state, the rate doesn't, in my state, every 5 years they reassess the city, but they do add numbers to those rates. So what I mean by that is every year in New Hampshire, they actually rerun the numbers. And so my tax bill, largely speaking, goes up every 6 months. It might go up 1% or 3% or 4% or whatever. So every 6 months, my tax bill goes up. And so for me, they don't capture it like the same way that they do in California, where it's based on what the property sold for, and then they reassess tax. That's how they do it in California. That's not how they do it in New Hampshire. So to answer your question, so what do you check for with property tax increase expected with the sales price? I call the tax assessor and ask them what their process is, because I know what the process is in my state. In my state, every 6 months, I see a tax bill, and usually it says, here's what you paid last quarter or last half of year. Here's what you paid last year. Here's what your new bill is this year. That's how I do it in New Hampshire. Kenshu, over 15 people applied and have few qualified candidates. So Kent, I had over 200 apply. 200, 3 units in 3 days. Yes. So if you have 3 tenants, right? So you can go back to them and basically, just like you would do on a house, best and final. I write them a nice letter. I write them a nice letter saying, hey, thank you so much for applying. Really appreciate you seeing the value in the house and the care that we've put into it over the years. We are very excited for the opportunity to be your landlord. We did, however, have a number of applicants apply. And congratulations that you have finished in the top 3. What we are doing with the other 3 folks, or the other 2 folks that have applied, we're actually going back out to them and saying, is there anything that you can do is there anything that you would be willing to do to improve essentially your application? And areas might be longer term lease, maybe more money. You have to check. I would check with your attorney to make sure that that's legal. I believe that it is, because you haven't agreed to rent it yet. It's not rented, but that's where I've taken it in the past. Now that we're so much bigger, I don't know if that's, honestly, I'm not 100% that's legal. I think it's legal, but I don't know that it is. So I would check with your local attorney in your state. But that's what I've done in the past. And so we've gotten people that sign 2-year leases instead of a 1-year lease. What that means for me is that I don't raise rent after 1 year anyway, number one. Number two is I don't have to rent it out next year. And I can just, and quite frankly, if they're a horrible tenant after 6 months, I'm going to evict them. It's just as hard to evict them with a 1-year lease or a 2-year lease. Doesn't make any difference. So Kent, that's what I would do. I would talk to an attorney. I would just ask them, what are the rules? An agent might know that, but I doubt it. A rental agent, no, I would still ask an attorney. I would ask an attorney. Yep, for sure. Yeah, I would ask an attorney. You need to have an attorney. You have to have an attorney, not one that you need to have somebody on retainer that you can call when you have a problem, when you have a question. You have to. Because if a landlord gives you bad advice, what are you going to do? Sue him? Like, I want to get the right answer from an attorney. I want to know that he knows the right answer. So I went through all of my processes. I had an attorney in the beginning that I had. And again, I didn't use him for years and years and years and years and years until I needed him. And then I needed him. He knew who I was. He took on the case and took care of it. So that's what I did. Kent Chu, very welcome. I would definitely, and let me know the answer. I'd love to hear the answer. Kent, what state are you in? If you could let me know that too. Antonio Barajas, thanks for the info. Another thought about the inspection. Would they still do inspection even though it's being occupied by tenants? Oh yeah, for sure. You definitely want an inspection for them. 1,000% you want an inspection then. Yep. I always want an inspection because I don't know, is the tenant, it's a way to get into the unit. It's a way to see if they take care of it. I mean, yeah, 1,000%. I inspect when I do my walkthroughs. So I feel more confident that I can get my guys to go do the specific things I want them to go do in that inspection. But again, in the beginning process, when I was new in the business, I paid for those inspections. I want those inspection reports. I want to read through it. And often it's an opportunity to go back and get some sort of a discount or credit. Sometimes they'll say, no, take a flying leap. Other times they'll say, yeah, we'll give you credit for that. I did a deal where I got a $10,000 credit. What was I going to do? All I could do was ask. I pushed a little bit hard and we got it. I said, yeah, if you want to start over the process all over again with rates being 1.5 points higher, see if that doesn't affect your price. So we ended up getting a credit and it was a deserved credit. It was something that they didn't disclose. And so it was one of those things that I wanted a credit. Way it goes. So yeah, especially if it's being occupied. Robert Farinelli, cellulose was the plan, except in the basement that is exposed where I'm going to close cell phone. Yep, close cell phone is good. Yeah, that's what I use. Yeah, that's what I use. Chris Webb, I'm off. Thanks again. I'll watch the rest on reply. Cool. Replay. Everyone hit the like button. Thanks, Chris. I appreciate that too. Mark Galvin, I had a recent rental on market. Okay. Price at the top of my area. Okay. Had 27 applicants, but only 4 made the short list. So 4 out of 27. So basically 20%. Yeah, that's, or no, it's about 15%, 4 out of 27. So Mark, I'm not sure if you were there for that point, but yeah, I got 30 out of 215, 212. I got 30 out of 212. Yep. Yeah. So the crazy thing is though, so tell me about those 4, right? So tell me about those 4. So you got 4 that were really qualified and you had to pick one. Mark, did you go back to them and because you had 4, or was one just that much of a separation? I'd love to know. JC, this has been great. Thank you. Glad you posted this event on Quora. Love Michael Zuber. Yeah, Mike's great. I love working with Mike. We do, I mean, that's why we do so much together. We do Tuesdays, we do Thursdays with Three Amigos. I have him on my channel on Fridays just because I like to, pull the ripcord with him every once in a while. But yeah, I love working with Mike. Mike's great. I watch the economic stuff, but he's better at it than I am. So I love that stuff. And then just with the hands-on stuff, our hands-on or more like project stuff, I've got just, significant more experience there because he doesn't do that because he lives 2.5 hours away. But yeah, love working with Mike. Kent Chu, thanks, Matt. You're very welcome. JC, do you always have your attorney look at the purchase agreement? No. So in New Hampshire, it's different. New Hampshire, we do a P&S, purchase and sales. We fill that out. Our agents handle the back and forth, and then any addendums or such get signed. Then that gets sent to a closing company. So our closings here are a fraction of what they are in other parts of the country, which is awesome. I don't have to use an attorney. When I use an attorney, it's like $2,000 to $2,500. With a closing agency, it's $700 or $800 and they still have to be touched by an attorney, but they just kind of flat rate it because they know exactly what they're looking for. So all that stuff goes through a closing company, not an attorney. The only thing that goes through an attorney are commercial loans here. Residential loans don't go through attorneys very often, unless you're doing like an off-market deal where it's just you and directly to the seller or the seller to the buyer. There's no agents, but then you're saving money on the 6% fee on the agent. So yes. What does it cost to have an attorney on retainer? So I would talk to the attorneys that are local to you. Once you feel comfortable with one, you can just ask them. So I have one attorney that has a retainer of like $3,000, but he's $300 an hour. So it's 10 hours. But I can pick up the phone, and a lot of times they bill me at like a 15 or a 30-minute increment because I wait until I have 2 or 3 things I need to talk to them about, and then kind of talk through all those issues, and then they hit me for a $150 bill. Yep. Yes. That's what I do. Kent Chu, Kansas City, Missouri. Okay, cool. I had a big customer in Kansas City at my last job. Big customer. They own most of downtown. You probably know who that is. Mark Galvin. Kent Chu. I'm 2 hours out of KC. Oh, very cool. Awesome. In Raytown and Blue Springs. Cool. Glad you guys could connect. Ryan Allen. My daughter Lexi says hello. Hey, Lexi. Thanks for watching. Listen to Dad. Get real smart and good at this stuff. Rob, so I'm about to rent out my old primary as a nurse rental. Okay. But the property has a jacuzzi that is an energy hog. Yep. Given I'm responsible for energy, I want to charge an add-on fee to have the jacuzzi available. Yeah, I think that's okay. I think that's okay. Does it have a separate meter? Does it have a separate meter? If it has a separate meter, that makes it real easy, because you can say the only thing that we request or the only thing that we expect is that you pay the separate meter. Because I don't know. I know they always have a separate box. I just don't know if they have. I don't know if they always have a separate meter. In one of the houses I did, it has a separate meter, and another house I did, it didn't. So, also being able to quantify what that is. And did you make it part of the no meter? Okay. Did you list it as an amenity at no cost, or you haven't listed it yet? Because what I would probably do, I mean, in San Diego, you don't get freezing temperatures, so that's not really an issue. Here we get those. So I would probably try and figure out ballpark wise. And if they don't agree to, you can say jacuzzi available for an extra fee. I don't know what the state law is. See, that's the problem. If it were in my area, what I would do is I would say it's available for an extra fee. Haven't listed yet. Okay, cool. If it were me, I don't know what your laws are. In New Hampshire, if it were me, I would say jacuzzi available for an additional fee. And if somebody doesn't want to pay the fee, I would just drain it. That's what I would do. I would drain it. I would drain it and not make it available. And then I would pull the breaker on that. Because I'm sure that thing has a breaker on the panel. That's what I would do. But again, in New Hampshire, being upfront, telling what I would do, I have no idea what you should do, Rob. I don't know what your rules are. I don't, because it's California. You guys are kind of nutty. So yeah, I don't know what I'd do. Oh, well, I know what I would do in New Hampshire. Oh yeah, all-nighter hider. I was gonna say, I think they're in San Diego too. Let's see. Mark Galvin did not go back to them yet. The one I picked had roots in town, worked less than 2 blocks from the rental, and provided a strong reference. Yeah, awesome. I like that, Mark. Yeah, I don't think that's a bad move. I don't think that's a bad move at all. Yeah, I mean, if they're strong, you know, they're not going to want to. So draining it ruins the motor, but isn't there a way? Again, I don't know a ton about hot tubs. This is one area that because in New Hampshire, guess what? You can only use them like 4 months a year. Yeah, they have the heated ones, but major energy hog. But doesn't it only ruin the motor if you try and run it with no water? I don't know. I would look at, for me here, I would provide it with an extra fee. I would, and if they didn't want it, I would just want to know from a company, what would you charge to, you know, we call it here in New England, we call it winterizing, which basically just means whatever that piece of equipment is, it's not going to be used, but all we have to do is then go through a de-winterization process, kind of like our pools. So we winterize our pools. And then you have to have your pool opened. Thankfully, my pool opens this week. Thank God. My kids are all over me. I'm like, I don't do it. It's a special service. And it takes like 4 hours. And that's 2 guys that know what they're doing. So yeah, that's what I would say. Chris, love your content. How do you find your commercial deals? Thanks, Chris. Appreciate that. Every way. LoopNet is one. MLS. Sometimes there's commercial stuff in there. Usually it's mixed use, but sometimes it's commercial. So LoopNet, MLS, wholesalers. The last commercial deal I bought was a wholesaler. Off market. Yep, I've done that too. So yeah, a bunch of different ways. Nothing that I'm going out and hunting. Everything just based on it coming to me based on, you know, people that know what I own in my portfolio. I don't go out hunting for commercial deals. JC, thank you so much for the education. JC, very welcome. Happy to help. Happy to help. You know where to find me on most Sundays here. Chris, how many units do you currently have? Is there a number you want to stop at or a freedom number? Chris, those are all great questions. I have 117. I don't have a hard number I want to stop at. And my freedom number, I passed it years ago. I choose to work my W-2 job. But yeah, my freedom number I passed years ago. I just continue to work my W-2 job. Someday I won't. I will quit, but not today. Hey, I figure if Tom Cruise can steal Dion's line, Lumberjack can steal one of Dion's lines. Yeah, so like Dion's financially free too. Like he could quit his job too, but he likes his job. And with as much vacation as that dude gets, I wouldn't quit either. But yeah, so my freedom number, so yeah, passed it, 117 units. And I really, truly, Mike and I talk, Mike, Dion and I, we all talk a lot about As far as like when we're going to stop. I think Dion probably stops at 10 mortgages. Um, because he's doing it differently. He's doing it truly for income. Um, yeah. Yep. Yep. Um, yeah. Yeah. No, no specific number in sight. Because Mike's been on like 187 or 188 for like 2 years. He just runs his business, going well, smooth sailing. We all recapitalized. We all got a bunch of, money that we have ready to do the next set of deals. So yeah, nothing there specific. Great question. Thanks for asking. Robert Farinelli. So how would you heat a basement room with a monoflow system going above, thinking about just buying a mini split and calling it a day for that room? I think mini split might be too expensive. I might look at like a Renai. I might look at a Renai. I think that might be much less expensive. And I don't think in a basement, a lot of times you'll need necessarily the cooling. I think you'll more likely just need the heat in a basement. I would look at Renai options. That's what I would do. Don't think it'll work well with the water being pushed down then up. Yes. Yep. Agreed. All-nighter hider, another fellow San Diegan. Yep. Rob, drains motor, ruins it. Yep. I siphon drain jacuzzis, so no ruining the motor. Yep. See, I knew there was a way to do it. It's an old hot tub. We want to charge $250 a month. Holy cow. $250 a month for the hot tub? Yeah, I don't know who's saying yes to that, but maybe there are. But yeah, I would, again, most of those things come with these big, huge breakers that get out into the system. So you can either pull that breaker right out, or a lot of times they come with like a lockbox top on them. So that might help you too. Let me know. Rich Boudreaux. Hello. Hey, Rich. Rich, 2 hours late. Really? We got a thing like 11:30 on Sundays. Rich. All-nighter hider. And I pull the breaker and disconnect the wires. Yep. Jacuzzi at the jacuzzi. Yep. So tenants can't pop in a breaker and start burning juice. Yep. Yeah. A lot of times though, they have that cover, like I said, which can be like padlocked. And then at that point, if they break into it, like anyone's going to get into it anyway. So yeah. Yep. But what you can also do too, is you can also disconnect, like have an electrician do it. You can not only pull the breaker, but you can also disconnect the line have an electrician do it, but you can also disconnect it, the actual wire from the bus, which is the metal part that actually everything kind of screws into. So you can also have somebody do that on the outgoing side, not on the incoming side, as an option. But again, laws, electrician, just what I would do, not professional advice. Right now, what is the best way to find connections in your area? Well, 1 second. This is my agent. And she has showings today. If you're watching, why are you watching? Why aren't you working? Actually, you should be working soon. Yeah, she has a bunch of showings today. So we have 13 showings in an hour and a half. She's going to be busy. I'm excited to see the tenant options we get out of this. All right. What is the best way connections in your area? Still trying to build a local team to help me. Yeah, that's tough. I mean, you got to be, you kiss a lot of frogs. I mean, Mike even talks about it. He went through 5 or 6 property management companies before he found the one that he liked. Thumbtack, I think, makes that a little bit easier. I would look for local landlord meetups, local landlord associations. That's where, and I would be talking to, again, at least a couple people a week, brokers, agents, anything, because it's just always the more people that will help you out the most. Yeah, so trying to build that local team. Yeah. Yep. talk to other investors, other agents. But yeah, local investor groups or investment chapters or meetups, all of that stuff will help you for sure. Sam Farho, would you buy in the best 4 months or hold it for now? Would you buy in the best 4 months or hold it for now? Buy in the next 4 months? Sam, let me know if I got that right. I'll answer. Rob, the jacuzzi breaker has a padlock, so that might be the answer. There you go. Yeah. Yep. Yep. Definitely can be. For sure. For sure. Mandy W. Hey, Mandy. Looked at a house today that had a small fire a year ago for an unknown reason. What should I look for to make sure all is fixed, or should I avoid it altogether? Great question. So charred wood is the scary stuff. Charred, not black, not burned black, but charred. Charred means it has structural integrity issues. So I would look to, I would have an inspector inspect it. I would, if you Google like a picture of charred wood, like firewood in a fireplace, you'll see like those ripple and like really where it's charred. And that means that wood, like if you hit that with something, it'll flake away. That means it's structurally, it needs to be addressed. Outside of that, usually you want to see that it's been sprayed, because you want to keep that smell in there. So you don't, anytime it gets wet, or you don't want to make sure that it doesn't have like a must smoky smell. And you also, it depends. Give me more detail on the fire, because I've been through fires and it ranges greatly in what you need to do and should do. Yeah, make sure it's all fixed for sure, but fixed is the operative word. What does some company view as fixed versus another? Understand who fixed it. That's another big thing too, because a lot of times fire is insurance, and insurance covered it. All night hider, Rob. Yes, the quick disconnect, good deal. I love it when we do this on a group. I love this. Jerneil. Hey, Jerneil. Good morning, Matt. Have you ever used any creative financing like the 50-40-10 or sub twos before? No, and not a 50-40-10, but an 80-10-10. So an 80 was primary mortgage, 10 was a piggyback mortgage, and 10 was my down payment. So I have done an 80-10-10, but not a 50-40-10, because the 50 basically is the mortgage company. The 40 is the seller taking that percentage of the note, and then the 10% is your deposit. Sub twos, I've not done those before, but that is something that the market is going to. You have an asset with a 2.5% mortgage or 3% mortgage on it, and rates are in the sixes. Guess what? That becomes a very attractive deal. One that if you do subject to, you can get some money on top of that type of loan, depending on where the values of the price, depending on where values are. But yeah, if you were one of those people that refied and you didn't pull out a bunch of cash, so you have a ton of equity and you have a sub two loan, and you have a loan at 2.5 or 3%, then yeah, that gets really, really tempting really fast. Excuse me 1 second, guys. I don't know why. Yeah. So yeah. Yep. And did the Honeywell T-stat work do set maximum temp? So I actually have, so we're still quarantined because of my daughter's treatment. So we're actually going to do that in the next like second week of June. I will be letting you know, because we're not doing we're doing that stuff right now. It's summertime here, but we will be testing all that stuff for sure. So you will be the first person to know, promise you that. Rich Boudreau, always late to the date. Well, see, thank God you had a captive audience and I wasn't going anywhere. So kind of worked. Paula M. Silva. Hey, Paula. Good morning, Mac. Hope your family is doing great. Yes, thank you for asking. My family is doing great. Eliana finished her chemo last week. So last week was the first week. So they went Monday. But last Monday was last week was the first week that we're to start when we hit tomorrow. That'll be the first 7-day period that we weren't in the hospital in almost a year. So yeah, we're doing great. It was nice to have the family all around and not have to crazy juggle schedules and all this other stuff, because that can be nuts. Scott Lawson, why not charge $10 per day for the hot tub honor system? You could probably do that. Yeah, the big thing where we are is winterization and all that other stuff. That has to happen because we get freezing cold temperatures. So you have to finish it at the end of the season. You're only using it for a few months. So here, that stuff's really difficult. But where it never touches freezing there, yeah, you could just siphon all the water out of the base. Then you don't have to move it off the motor. You can also shut it off with a breaker. You can also pull the breaker. You could also pull the breaker, take lines off the bus, and padlock the thing. So you got a lot of options. But yeah, I think the only challenge that Rob would have, I think, with that probably is, I don't know, how often do those things break? When they break, how expensive are they? Again, we don't have those things. So yeah, so I'm not really sure. But yeah, could do that. Could do that payment system that way. You could also probably get a second meter, like off a sub panel. You might be able to do that. I'd be interested to know what that would actually cost you. But then it's like a major amenity. Like, is that an amenity that sets you apart from so much other stuff? Yeah, I don't know. Rich Boudreaux, how much emergency fund should you have set aside starting out? It depends on whose formula. Yeah, it depends on whose formula you use, honestly, Rich. For me, we lived close to the edge, so we didn't necessarily, like, the money that we had, we would buy the property with. We'd have a few $1,000s to kind of take care of the stuff that immediately had to be taken care of. Largely, we would actually try and get that included in the mortgage. Because then you have 45 days on a residential mortgage before you make your first payment usually. So you get kind of a month for free. So instead of making the payment on the property, we'd take that money, we would just put it right into the property. So we still had kind of a payment, but didn't have a payment. So I can't really give you a great answer on that because it varies so greatly. I've talked to people that have $10,000 in an emergency fund when they start out. And I talk to people that have $1,000 in their emergency fund when they start out. I think the big thing, and I'm not recommending this by any stretch, what happened to us, because we got into it, or I got into it, I was doing the work, we were going through those things. I could fix pretty much anything, except for some advanced stuff, like things that were, like gas appliances or things like that. And so I had my credit card. If it were emergency that came up like that, I had a credit card. I know, get it, horrible answer, not recommending it at all. But I didn't have any money left after I bought the property that I wanted to buy. I had very little money left because of closing costs and all this other stuff and the other things that we needed to kind of make right. So then we didn't really have any money left in the emergency fund. But what we did was we kind of took all of our profit, literally all of our profit and we weren't depending on cash. We weren't depending on the cash flow from these properties to pay any of our bills. So that's where we kind of took a little bit different of an approach, where I wasn't taking out 10% here and 5% here and 3% here. I was taking it all out, putting it all into an account. And that's what was then saving for the next property. And then once I got to that point, it was like, okay, we can start looking now. But then at that point, I had a little money set aside for emergency fund, like a few $1,000s. Yeah, because the challenge that you'll have is, if it's that's where if you can kind of handle the big stuff, like a roof, a sewer line, a foundation issue, an infestation issue, if you can kind of check those boxes, right? Water heaters. If you can kind of check those boxes, then even when an emergency comes up, it might not, it largely, kind of 90% rule, 95% rule, it's largely not going to be that expensive to fix. Hold on one second. My wife said it was going to rain tonight. And I said, I think you're going to be good. And so it rained for like 15 minutes. So yeah, I just asked her where the kids are. Just to see if we've got more time. Or if I got to call it in 15 minutes, but I'll know soon. Rich Pedro, LOL, always late to the, oh yeah, sorry, I already covered that. Yeah. Pallavi Patel, Matt, have you installed disabled old citizens walk-in bathtubs? What's your opinion about? Okay, yeah, that's a good question. Those are really expensive. Those are really expensive. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I might try and find a tenant that can use that, because I think folks that need that sort of thing, I think that there's more people out there looking for that than don't. If it was one of those things that became a consistent issue, I'd probably uninstall it and have a regular new tub installed. But man, you're talking about like thousands of dollars of value. I mean, you can take the thing out and then I don't know what they resell for. I would look at the secondary market, see what they resell for. So we take out clawfoot tubs. Yeah, I know. They look awesome. They suck. They are awful to manage and take care of. And people slip in them. Even when you put the tread down in them, the rings, people slip in the bathroom or trip in the bathroom. They grab the ring, they grab the curtain, yank it right off the ceiling. And I hate clawfoot tubs. We buy a lot of these really old homes that people think, oh, they're so cool. They suck. So we rip them out every chance we get. But the reason I said that story, aside from just liking to rant about those tubs, is we actually resell those tubs, and you can get, $300, $400, $500 for them. So, but to replace it with a real tub, it's just, for me, it's a maintenance thing that I can avoid. So to do all that tub work, blah, 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 putting a surround, the whole nine, usually it's a couple grand. So it costs you 15, but then you're good forever. So I would see if there's a market for, if that place, is like a ranch or has a ramp, handicap accessible ramp or something like that. I mean, there might be housing available that somebody could actually use that. And you get some value, they get some value of something that they might not normally see. I always want to try and create value. So I'm not just let's rip it out and redo it kind of guy. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know if that's one of those things that there's such a small niche market for it that I don't know. Because I would think anybody buying that thing is largely buying it and getting a package deal for install and the product and covered by insurance and all that other stuff for slip and falls, etc. So yeah, I don't know that I have. So to answer your question on an opinion, I would try and see if there's, from a rental perspective, if there's, if that helps folks out. I just don't know what the rest of the house is. So yeah. Scott Lawson, when you are looking at properties, are you looking for ADU options? Yes. Sure. Yep. Only because that makes it more valuable to me. So I'm not looking at it saying I'm not going to buy that because it doesn't have an ADU, but I can get value out of it. So I bought a single family home, 2,495 square feet. It was listed as a 5-bed, 2-bath. I did some research. That thing had been on the market for a month. It was in a C-class area. Did the work for a month. Nobody was buying it. Needed a bunch of work. Probably 20 or 30 grand worth. Nobody buying it because they couldn't go FHA, and that was what mostly that neighborhood was. Did some research and found out in looking at it, I just said, this is a duplex. It was converted in 1981 from a single family from a duplex to a single family. So for a few $1,000, changed it back to a duplex. That will probably be my best deal this year, percentage wise. I bought it for 160. I put 35 into it. I think we're 160. I think closing costs, everything 165, 35 into it, 200 into it. It appraised for 335. So 135,000 over what I had into it. But 70% loan to value because I did a cash out refi. So I was able to get all of my deposit money back, all of my repair money back, and another $20,000 on top of that, put in my pocket. We call that an awesome fee. Put that $20,000 in my pocket because it's a loan, it's not income, not taxed. And the building makes $1,000, a little over $1,000 a month. So it still makes like a 30% plus return. So yeah, that was probably my best deal this year, percentage wise, because it makes a 30% return. I got a massive return and I have no capital in the deal. I have no capital in the deal. I took $20,000 out. So I literally have no capital out of pocket in the deal. It made me $20,000. Now on top of that, I make $1,000 a month or so on that property. So yeah. Yep. So I definitely look at zoning for sure. ADU options. ADU, that one was single family to back to duplex. But yeah, I look at zoning because there's weird conversions like that happened in the 70s and 80s for sure. Mandy, with the fire was in 2 rooms upstairs. Okay. Did not go into the attic or downstairs. Walls repainted, no smoke smell. Didn't see any charred wood on window or door trim, was black though. Okay. Thank you. Great info. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the charred thing is the big thing, like the superficial fire, like if it's in a couple rooms, they maintain it. If it didn't get into the attic, that's the big thing, right? I would just want confirmation of that. Just because, again, I've ripped apart houses that had fire damage that was hidden and charred wood. And we had to, just, you know what you have to do there. You have to basically support it, rip out the charred wood and replace the charred wood with new wood or LVLs. And so I've done that work too. Yep. Rich Boudreaux, way cool. Gonna have about 10K set aside. Large, yeah. I mean, again, think about what could cost you 10K, right? And I'm like, I can fix anything. Yeah. Yep. I mean, especially like superficial stuff, like $10,000, Rich, that usually gets you a pretty big percentage of swapping out a heating system. It's depending on what kind of roof you have. If you're talking about like an architectural shingled roof, $10,000, that's a pretty big house that covers. So yeah, 10,000 is a pretty good number because there's probably not a ton of things in a lot of areas that would cost more than that. Although then you look at like those, they're all big in California and Arizona, those clay tile roofs. Yeah, those can be $20,000. But when you're talking about architectural shingles, yeah, I mean, 350 to 400 a square. A lot of roofs are 20 to 30 square. So you're like right in that neighborhood of, even if a roof goes, even if a heating system has to be swapped out, unless you're building from scratch, you're probably in pretty good shape with 10 grand, generally speaking. Ryan Allen, what is your projected budget for adding the ADU? So I am waiting on the drawings. Yep, I'm waiting on the drawings. Once I see the drawings, I'll then be able to put together, I'll work with a bunch of different subs and get real numbers together and see if it's worth it. I'm pretty sure it's worth it. My belief is, and I see I have a second question there, is it an add-on or separate structure? Separate structure. I'm actually taking a 2-car garage that I think is 24 by 24 and putting a second floor on it. That's what the project would be, is basically turning that into an ADU. So still keeping the driving garage underneath. But even in taking the garage underneath those two spaces, leaving those as garage spaces, but just truly adding a unit onto the second floor or making the second floor a unit. That's what the idea is. Yep. That's what the idea is. That's what I want to do. But yeah, then just have to get quotes and see the pricing and all that good stuff. Yeah. Yep. Hold on. Need to tell my agent good luck. Because it's for both of us. Ah, yeah. So yeah, separate. So same, separate building, 2-car garage, conversion, upstairs. I'm also looking. This has a really weird roof line. It's a duplex, has a really weird roof line, almost like a really hard peak and then more gradual to make room for upstairs. Why they didn't just do full upstairs is beyond me, because it wouldn't have been that much more expensive. So I'm actually looking at that as well. And so that will be to rip that second floor off and put there. So I'm hoping to kill two birds with one stone. That's a 4-1 duplex, four bedroom, 1 bath, 4-bedroom, 1 bath. And this is a 2-car garage. So ideally I get 4-1, 4-1, or 4-1.5, 4-1.5, and then I get a 2-1 over here. So then that, like I said, waiting on the drawings. As soon as I get the drawings, I'll know more. A lot more. Yeah, because then I'll get it all quoted out. Mark Galvin, got to head out. Thanks for sharing. Thanks, Mark. Appreciate you coming and hanging out. Rob, when you found the really a duplex property, yep. Did you see that from the pictures on the MLS, given you're in quarantine? So yes, I had my agent. I didn't walk in. So I didn't walk. I bought 6 properties. 6, 7, 8. I bought 8 properties that I've still not ever been in. Actually, no, it's not true. 6 I haven't been in. 2 of them were vacant, so I was in both of those. But yeah, I bought 6 properties. I still haven't even set foot inside. I've been outside, but I've never been inside them. So that was a combination of my broker, and actually just my broker. And then all the pictures from the inspection. That's how I would put all that stuff together. So we'd make a strong offer based on the facts and figures, based on his scoring of it, if you will. But I was part of his upbringing in real estate. And so he knows how I look at things. We've worked together for 6 years. So yeah, it was basically pictures, what's called a multifamily rider, which is all the information about the multifamilies. And then the inspections. Yeah, that's how I bought those. Yeah, so I wasn't even inside them. And so that really a duplex, didn't go inside it, only had pictures. But yeah, I did the lookup. I didn't have to go to the town or anything. All the county records are on file or on the web. So I was able to go look it up, and then put the rest of it together. So yeah, I just, yeah, never even set foot inside it before I bought it. True story. In fact, have I been in it since? Yeah, I've been in it since. Yep. Yeah, I was in that since. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, I've been in it since. Came out great. My crews did a good job. My guys did a good job. Yeah, did a good job. Julie Anderson, it would be great if there was a time counter on the live videos so we could go back and reference specific points. Yes, I agree. I don't know that there's a way to do that on live, but there is a way to do that on videos. I haven't gotten there yet, Julie. I will someday, but not today. Twice in one day. Yeah. Steve Dave, Hope you and the family are doing well. Been slammed finishing a rental and missed some live streams. Steve Dave, I get it. I get it. I only didn't do last week's because it was Mother's Day, but we've been slammed. We brought 20 rentals to market in the last 180 days. 20 rentals a market. And man, is that difficult when you can't go on site. It sucks so bad. Oh, Ryan Allen, are there any regulations for building over a garage? Yep. For the vehicle fumes or putting additional insulation with the door opening? Yeah, there's everything. Yep, there's everything. There's insulation, there's fire rated sheetrock. There are not only smoke detectors, but also heat detectors. Yeah, there's a bunch of different regs. Yep. Yeah, for sure. 100%. Yep. Yes, there are. Yep. Yeah, lots of them. Like we would go with like a super quiet, like spring drive as opposed to a belt drive or a chain drive. We'll spend more money instead of putting in like a, $500 door opening setup. We'll put in like a $2,000 door opening setup. Those with those tension springs that have, I think they're called Lift Masters. They're high end, they're expensive, but they're a couple $1,000. We'll put nice garage doors on there, but we won't put anything crazy because we're going to get all the insulation. When you've got, 10-foot joists or 10-inch joists or 12-inch joists between that ceiling in the garage and the upstairs apartment, when you've got that much, I can do insulation. I can also do safe and sound from Roxel. Safe and sound is not insulary, but it is sound deadening. So they wouldn't hear somebody downstairs at 90 decibels. So they won't hear anything. But yeah, we'll do that sort of comfort measure stuff because quite frankly, the reason that we're going to do it, I'll try and get a picture for you guys because the view out of what that apartment would be is awesome. That's the only reason we're going to push hard to do an ADU. It is a building that's up on top of a hill. And as you look down, there's a massive river and a mill there. And those apartments are $3,000 over there. They're crazy expensive, but we get to actually get the picturesque view, 100 feet down slope of the river and the mill. And it's beautiful. Great area to walk. A lot of walking trails over there. So yeah, we're definitely, because I think that would be, believe it or not, I think the duplex, one of those units would probably rent for 2,900. That 2-bedroom will probably rent for 22 or 24. Yeah, just because it's going to be just a beautiful view of the river. Just, yeah. I told Ashley, I was like, we might just keep it open, get babysitters for the kids, and that's where we'll go hang out together. So yeah. But yeah, lots of stuff for those for sure. Robert Farinelli, I wouldn't have an emergency fund per se, but have cash either going into the next deal. Yep. If something does happen when I buy the next deal, I usually have extra cash to do maintenance because I do a lot of make ready. Yep. Yeah, for sure. Rich Boudreaux, when applying for a refinance, how do you handle all the inquiries you get from banks on your credit file? So supposedly when you're doing that, anything that's within 30 days, when you're going to get a refinance, if you have multiple banks look at it, anything that's within 30 days, that's the same type of activity, it should not impact your score. Yeah. So it shouldn't. But the key is to make sure you're doing it all within a 30-day period. So it's condensed because then they'll see the inquiries, but then they can see who the inquiries are and know that they're getting shopped. But that's why I would talk to people. I actually will run, like I have credit monitoring. I will give them that report and say, based on this score and this information, where do you think you would be? Don't pull my credit yet, but where do you think you would be? And then whoever that is of where they think they would be, I kind of look at those numbers and compare them. And then I'll pick the one that had the best and then run it. And then if it's in that, same ballpark, whatever, if it's, the best deal, then I'll go with that. If there's something there that I really don't like, then I'll go to a second lender, but I don't go to 3 or 4 lenders on every deal. It's a waste of time. Yep. Waste of time. Pallavi Patel, we don't like clawfoot tubs. I'm with you, man. I'm with you. Clawfoot tubs are the worst. They're the absolute worst because they're not affixed to the floor either. So when people knock them too hard, you can break a supply line going. You can break your drain line because there's not that much play in those things. Ripping down the curtain, ripping down the curtain holders, which are called the D rings. Yeah. And they're so expensive to replace. Like a D ring can be like $150. Yeah, brutal. Let's see. Olufemi Olusola Oregbile. I hope I got that right. Live in Worcester. Cool. Plan to house hack next year. Love it. Should I be concerned that most triplexes here are very old, older than 1920? Yep, they're the same in my market, just so you know. Since you are in New England, I may have more questions in the future. Oh, you'll have more questions if you do it for sure. This live stream, perfect place to come to. And follow me on Instagram because I'm actually doing a property that's a 4-plex that's 170 years old. 160 something years old. I rounded up. But yeah, follow me on Instagram. You'll see a lot of pictures there, especially over the coming weeks, because that's our biggest project that we're getting through right now because we want to be done by the end of the summer. I wanted to be done by June, but we had nonstop delays, i.e. 117 days on Windows. So yeah. Yes. Okay. So yeah, we'll go to 2:30 today. Good. Apparently the kids are having so much fun at the playground. So yes, so Olufemi, I'll call you Triple O if you don't mind. Yes, you will have questions. Follow me on Instagram, Lumberjack Landlord. There's going to be a ton of pictures I'm going to post there. There's already some there already. Yeah, take a look at that. But yeah, you will find stuff. I don't get concerned about those things because quite frankly, a lot of those homes are built better. But you do want to know things like, did they ever do insulation? There's going to be asbestos. There's going to be lead paint. There's going to be all of these things. And so it's really understanding how to manage with a lot of those old homes. Yep, totally get it. So yes, be learning your market, be understanding your market, really understand what the pricing is like. That I won't do for you because I don't do other people's markets. But the construction side of it, yeah, that's once you've got that knowledge, then I go do a bunch of other goofy stuff with it. Pallavi Patel, thanks, Matt. You're welcome, Pallavi. Rob, put a timer clock on the wall behind you. I actually have a new studio. Yes, we're losing this office to a bedroom. So I have a new studio in the house, in the basement. And so, yes, we will do something like that for sure. That's a good idea. Thanks, Rob. Kent Chu, Matt, can you go more into how you finance your purchases now? Banks, all banks, some seller finance, but mostly banks. Yeah, banks. They like my deals. Duplex, triplex, quadplex. They love those deals. They do because they're very liquid. They make a ton of money. And I have enough seasoned rentals. I have 80 units or 85 units that I've owned for over a year, up to 15 years. So they know the business works. They know me as an operator. So yeah. So pretty much all banks. REI trainer. What's going on, REI trainer? Some lenders will do a soft pull so that it won't impact your credit score. Yep. But you will have to ask for it. Yep. Give a good reason, such as you're doing a rehab loan and pull the trigger, and we'll pull the trigger when ready. REI trainer, that is great information. Totally agree. Yep, totally agree. Kent Chu, what rates are you getting now? You probably don't want to know. I get really good rates. I was told I could have 5.75, 5.75 on an investment property. Yeah. Yeah, I was told I could get 5.75. That was last Wednesday. It's Thursday. Wednesday or Thursday. 5.75. That's what I could get on a non-owner occ. Local bank. Yeah, local bank. And no dollar limit. So yeah. Rob, average home price in San Diego is now $1 million per Association of Realtors. Yeah, holy Toledo, is it? Yeah, crazy. So our median home price in the last year, 1 year, median home price went from 300,000, or was it 330? Yeah, 330,000 to 440,000 in 1 year. Ay caramba. Way too bad. Yeah, nuts. Rich Boudreaux, 5.5 and okay with that. Yeah, Rich, that's a great number. That's a great number, 5.5. Well, you're probably less than 10, right? I don't know. If you're less than 10 units, I would expect that. You should be getting a little bit lower a number than me. Sam Farho, how do I put 6 months upfront rent into escrow, and what is the benefit of escrow? I don't do it in escrow. Nope. I didn't do it in escrow. They paid me and it went, and I got a check and I put it in an account, period. I put it in my property account. Their deposit went into my deposit account. Their rent went into my property account. That's how I did it. I don't know what your state requires. I don't know if it requires escrow. I wouldn't be escrowing it. Nope. Because then the purpose of escrow is somebody has to release it. Like, is it up to me to release it? Well, then I might as well just have it in my account. Is it up to them to agree to have it released? No. Yeah, I wouldn't, because they could just say, no, we won't allow it. So yeah, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do escrow unless that's the law. For me, that's not the law. They paid it to me. It went to an account. Kent Chu, is that a local bank? Yep. Kent Chu, damn, I just cashed out refi at 7. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. So I can get cash out refi money under 6, 70% loan to value, but I don't need to, because in February, I finished my 10 cash out refis at 4%, 30-year fixed rate debt at 4%. And then last year in August or July, I had done another 9 last July and got 30-year fixed rate debt. I think it was 4 1/8. I think it was 4 1/8. So yeah, awesome. Have you ever rented to a tenant with a Staffordshire Terrier dog? Oh, you mean a pit bull? They fill it out that way for a reason. I know you'll have the argument, there's no such thing as a pit bull. I know. So I hear. My insurance company sure doesn't think that way. So I talked to my insurance company. I asked them. Oh, REI trainer. By the way, if you're watching this on your phone app, it has a cool animation if anybody wants to see it. Yeah, hit the like. That'd be awesome. I don't see anything different on my side, but cool. Yeah, American Staffordshire Terrier. It's basically a pit bull. For any dog decisions like that, I just call my insurance company. Just call my insurance company. Hey, is there any dog that you won't insure? And usually they give me the top 10 that are on the bite list. German Shepherd, American Staffordshire Terrier, Doberman, Chow. There's a few others. There's a few others on there. that are more like aggressive dogs. But yeah, it's all on my insurance company, because for me, I don't care. I'm a dog person, and I've seen good pit bulls. I've seen bad pit bulls. I've seen good pit bulls that went bad. So for me, it's not, I want to make sure that if anything were to happen, if I just want to make sure that if anything were to happen, that everyone's covered. You know, if somebody needed medical bills, if somebody needed yeah. So largely we don't put that we accept dogs. Because I would be nervous putting a dog generally known to be aggressive in a building where there were kids. So we usually do no dogs, but we'll do an exception. So if we look and we're like, yeah, there's an exception, no bite history, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, if they have a dog, they need separate insurance, and they pay a pet fee. So yeah, for sure. REI trainer, miss hanging out here. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, you haven't been here for weeks. We have to talk. Good to be back. Thanks for doing these live streams. Everyone like, comment, and subscribe. Hey, thanks. I appreciate that, REI trainer. Yeah, I think we're pretty good at what we do, right? I think we're pretty good. Somebody asked me, somebody made the comment. It wasn't a question. Somebody made the comment. Something like, oh yeah, you know, if you do this, I'll say you're the man. I appreciate the validation, but quite frankly, I know I'm the man when I look at my cash flow. Like, I do this purely to help people. I'm not selling you guys anything. I like hanging out. I like talking real estate. I like talking my experience, because if somebody else can stand on my shoulders and not have to go through the garbage that I went through in some way, shape, or form, or can add value, I'm happy to do it. But yeah, if you guys saw, like, literally, if you saw what YouTube pays me, look, kids, Happy Meals, like, yeah. So it's not for the money. It's not for the fame. It's truly because I want to help out, because I had no one to listen to when I was doing this in 04, 03, 04, 05, 06, 07. There really wasn't anybody but people out there with like get rich quick schemes. There really wasn't anybody out there. Now it's different, and YouTube's out there, so it's great. But yeah, for a long time, there was no one out there doing this stuff. Thank you, Matt, for what you do. This is great. You're welcome, Sam. Yeah, Sam, I know you're hitting me with specific scenarios, and I don't mind that. Just so you know, I don't mind it at all. I'll only give you the experiences that I've had. Any dog from me, please call insurance. Because at that point, I can go back to them and say, my insurance won't cover it. And so I ask my insurance, what do you want? Right? And they'll say, we won't cover it. So you need to actually make sure that they have a policy and that they've named you in the policy. So yeah, that's what I follow, I have to. Guys, at the end of the day, I'm a steward of my company, and I'm the one with the name on the masthead, but I can't do it without my banks, my insurance providers, my tenants, my maintenance guys, my subcontractors. It's assembling a great team of assets, human assets, that helps the business grow and get to that next level and do the next thing. That's why paying your contractors on time, respecting tenants when they reach out, but not giving in on everything. You know, like I had somebody say, I want to put an air conditioner, and these types of windows don't take an air conditioner. I'm like, they kind of do, but no, I'm not swapping. I'm not doing $1,000 window swap for you to have another AC in there, especially because I'm on the hook for electricity and I'm on the hook for heating as well. But here's the bad thing. She ran up a bill, $600 a month in the wintertime. The place isn't that big. She just left it on 80 and just didn't care. So yeah, it's not part of the lease. I have to provide cooling. So you're going to get what you get. So yeah, hopefully that's helpful to you guys. Triple O, thanks for answering my question. You're very welcome. Just started following you and the other amigos. Very cool. My buy box is Worcester and all the adjacent cities. I would probably narrow down. If you're just starting to follow us and look at this stuff and just getting into the one rental at a time, I'd probably narrow down. Worcester's a big, big market. So make sure that you're being thorough. If you're able to do Worcester in less than 20 minutes a day, then maybe you can add, but you got to be really careful because there are some major differences in the metros around Worcester. Just my cautionary tale. I recently started tracking the triplex prices and yields, and we'll do this till September at least. Awesome. That's triple O. That is awesome. Or Olufemi. That is awesome. Well done. You got to become an expert in that market because I can tell you there's a lot of agents in that market that don't know anything. So you be the expert. Depend on you, depend on your accumulation of knowledge. You'll be setting yourself up in a better spot for sure. Julie Anderson. I'm getting 250K cash this week. Woo, love it. I'm going to hold it in 2 or 3 banks. I get that, FDIC. It's being used for renovations. Okay. Holding that much cash makes me nervous with the economy doing what it's doing. Yeah, I get it. Yep. I mean, I've got most of my 7 figures that I just got on my refis in February. We're split, but yeah, is what it is. Inflation's crazy. It's going to eat away at it. But I believe that maybe not now, but in the next 12 to 18 months, I believe that I'm going to be confronted with opportunity that unless I had this 7 figures in cash from the refis, that I wouldn't be able to execute on. And my bank, because I'm a great operator, because I stay in contact with them, because now it's a business relationship and a personal relationship, I think that if something went sideways for them in another property, guess what? I think that I would get a shot at being able to take it over. Yes, and no. Sorry, guys. It's my agent. Showings have started. Let the fun begin. Ryan Allen. I originally had my place listed with no pets. Yep. Tenants I have now asked if they could have fancy rats. Okay. We made an exception for them as long as they keep them clean and I don't smell them. Very interesting. This was because it is owner occupied and my daughter has pet allergies. Yeah, fair enough. Yeah. I mean, I think I'm not anti-dog. Had dogs all my life. This is literally like the first time in my life where I haven't had a dog. So yeah, that's really like the first time that we had a dog. So I'm a big time dog lover. It really comes down to the owners. You know, do they let the dog take a dump in the yard and not pick it up if it's shared space? Like that's inconsiderate. Cats with litter boxes. You know, they don't clean it often enough. They're gone too often. And so the cat starts peeing around the box. These are all things that we've encountered. And so from our perspective, we much rather not advertise it with a pet, depending on what the property is. If it's a brand new property, believe it or not, that we've all gone through, we don't mind pets. Where we mind pets is in the places where we have 120-year-old original wood floors. How am I supposed to replace those if your dog's an idiot and he decides that he likes to frantically scratch the floor? How do I replace those if a cat pees all over them in the closets? I can't. So we are more likely to rent to pets in a new one where we have like LVP, laminate or vinyl plank. We are more apt to rent those to folks with pets because that product is more largely indestructible. So yeah, it really depends. So we are not a never pet. We are not an always pet. But yeah, we learned our lesson one time. We had a lady with 2 cats, moved in, was on the road all the time, and she would leave the 2 cats behind with enough food for the week and litter boxes. And oh my gosh, she ruined my 120-year-old fur floors on the 3rd floor of this house. And her deposit was not nearly enough to cover it. She was like, yeah, you can just keep my deposit. And I was like, uh-oh. And then we show up and I was like, keep your deposit. I'm going to sue your ass. And so, yeah, that was difficult. But yeah, we had to clean it up, make it right. It cost us about $5,000, but she skipped town. This was a long time ago. Skip tracing wasn't nearly what it is today. And she just disappeared. Couldn't find her, nothing. So yeah, that's the way it goes. But yeah. So that's it on the pet thing. But yeah, and we try and consider the other neighbors. So one of the things we also did that's kind of weird is, we had somebody today that was saying, they were like, yeah, we're looking for something quiet, blah, 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 blah. So you're anti-dog owner. I'll show you all the pictures of my dog. I love my dogs. We had a English bulldog. Awesome. Her name was Belle. She passed away. And we had a French bulldog that we ended up having to rehome with a good friend of ours because he wouldn't stop knocking the kids over and taking the food out of their hands. So we wanted to preempt it and not get a bite. But anyway, yeah. So yeah, for what it's worth, we love dogs, all about it. But yeah, we had this tenant ask or say, we want quiet, this, that, and the other. And I said, well, we can't guarantee quiet, but your neighbors are all in their mid to late 20s and professionals. I don't mind disclosing that information to them because I don't want them moving in and going, oh, you should have told me that they were all in their mid 20s and professionals. That has nothing to do with the price of tea in China. They may be loud, they may not be loud. Anybody can be loud. A family with young kids, guess what? They're going to be loud. And so there's no way that I can, her putting me on notice about noise. Hey, they're professionals. They're, mid to late 20s. That's the most I can tell you. I have no idea if they're loud or quiet. We've never gotten a complaint otherwise. Truly, we haven't gotten a complaint. So yeah, it's like, what do? You do the best you can just to help folks out and set them up with what it is, but you want control over your environment, go buy a house that you own. Can't you? Matt, I had a tenant that asked me about lease to buy. I told her I'm open to it. How would you structure something like that, if at all? Kent, I am the wrong dude for that. I am absolutely the wrong dude for that. I don't know if that's in Mike Zuber's course. I don't know if that's in Mike Zuber's course. For me, I would have to see what the deal is to even come close to considering it. Not really a thing that I would probably consider doing, but don't know. Hold on, agent. Cool. She was really funny. She said, did you set this up? And I was like, no, you told me not to. She's like, oh, that's right. She's like, yeah, that would have been really overwhelming. I was like, see, I listen. So yeah, she's a great agent. So yeah, so structuring lease to buy, not for me, probably. I don't know anything about it. I would have to do research. I would look at, if you're in Zuber's course, I would take a look at that for sure. I think he might have something in there, lease to buy. Maybe. Yeah. Yeah. Not something I've considered yet. Haven't had the opportunity, but largely probably wouldn't consider it because I don't really do any single families. Everything that I own is multifamily. And I don't really sell multifamilies just because I think that the maturation of where the market's going, what's happening in the market, how few single family homes are being built. I see a lot of people getting out of those massive multifamilies with all the crazy rules and all the stuff that's there, where they want to go small multifamily just because they want kind of more of an at-home experience or a homey experience, if you will. So I see a lot of that transitioning down. So, and then I see, like I said, a lot of investors not buying a single family home and then trying to find the next investment property, but hacking and getting into a property like that where it makes sense. So I can tell she's going to start lighting my phone up because she's right in the middle of a bunch of showings. Rob, so you're anti-dog owner. Yeah, Rob, I'm not. Anthony Shafano, still looking for the publicly traded company that sells nothing but bunk beds. Yeah. Yes. Yes. There is a company that is doing, I saw them this last week. They're doing like 8-person pods that like go into a normal house, and it's like an 8-bed setup. Hold on, I'll tell you who it is. So yeah, so it looks like hostel stuff. You can buy them on Alibaba. Yeah, no joke. Serious. Crazy but true. Crazy but true. Trying to find the vendor name. Alibaba has one for sale. It's CHORS, dormitory capsules accommodation. Oh, that's another hostel. But yeah, they're like these really nice boxes, but they come in like it is. It's just like a box where you go sleep. So yeah. Yep, I've seen those. There, I actually saw that this week. They were pretty cool. Right, Alan, thank you for your time doing this. You're welcome. When do you anticipate being out of quarantine, done with the kids' treatments? So we will be, so Eliana finishes the first week of June. We're doing limited stuff kind of then because she's not what's called neutropenic, which means she has white blood cells. So she can actually fight stuff. We just don't want to introduce complexity. So probably like mid-June is what we're hoping for. Yeah. Low code loco. How do you say your name? I don't know. Give me phonetic. That way I can get your name right forever. When you buy an older property, how much do you estimate the cost to handle lead paint treatment? I don't. 90+% of the homes where I'm from have lead paint. I don't test for lead paint. It's a wasted effort. So when we bring on tenants, we show them the, lead safety thing. And that's basically it. We let them know that the presence of lead is there. That's our job or that it could be there. We don't know. We don't confirm. We don't test. And we don't, depending on what the remodel is. So it really varies, but yeah, we don't loco edify. Loco edify. Is that good? All-nighter hider, lease option deals, tenant buyer, lease option deals, tenant buyer pays a large down. Yep, takes on all the maintenance and insurance, just as they were in fact the homeowner. Yeah, so familiar with them. I just, yeah, not thrilled. Unless I'd want to, yeah, just not a fit for me. I love that you take the time to hold these live sessions. Yeah, you're very welcome. Learning so much from the three amigos. Cool. Loco Eddie. Cool. Loco Edify. I'll just call you Loco. Just crazy. Love it. Cool. Yeah, happy to do them. All-nighter hider. Lease option deals, the tenant buyer. Yep. Few seem to exercise their option. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Not a huge thing for me. Yeah. Usually if I want to be done with a deal, like I want to be done and move on. Right. So cool, guys, we've hit past 2:35. I want to go hang out with my kiddos for the rest of the day. Just got asked a question. Do I have any rentals available? Have any rentals? Yes, I do. Lease options are great. I learned a ton about them. Then I learned I can't do them in my market. Shouting cash flow. That's awesome. Yeah, I was going to say some states don't allow them. Yeah, it's true. Yeah. Yep. Or the terms that they make you do them under are punitive. I think that might be why. I'd have to look. But yeah, we were not a fit for me right now. But if somebody came to me though and presented me the option and showed me the structure, I would take it to my attorney. If I liked it, I would take it to my attorney. So, and just say, all right, scenario this out for me. And that's what I kind of bounce the ideas off of, because I can figure it out. But then I'm like, all right, what are the gotchas? What are the things I don't know? Because my attorney doing a ton around real estate, guess what? He's probably been in a courtroom and he's probably had to see one of these things get taken apart or where there was a disagreement. Okay, so how do we kind of legislate out the sun and make that not a thing? So yeah. So guys, have an awesome rest of your week. It was so much fun hanging out with you. I really appreciate you. Pavel Wisniewski. Yeah, we're still here. Yeah. Costco, come back, come home. Yeah, we're just working. We're talking real estate, Pavel. So you guys have an awesome week. Hit that like button on the way out. I really appreciate you guys. We'll be with Michael Zuber on Tuesday, Dion on Thursday with the three amigos. And yeah, that's the story. I'll keep you guys posted on my Instagram, on my Lumberjack Landlord Instagram, on the upcoming 160 odd year old rehab. The outside's almost done, windows, siding, roof, trim work. And so now that the outside shell's done, we'll start on the inside and start doing electrical, plumbing, and flooring and more of that stuff. So you guys have a great week. Appreciate y'all. Take care. We'll talk again soon. And yeah, gonna go hang out with my kiddos. Bye guys. Take care. Oh, subscribe too. Yeah. If you haven't subscribed already, what the hell? Honestly, like subscribe, like all that good stuff. Appreciate you. Bye guys.